Who's coming through?
Nope, not yet.
This is our final countdown here before we take off.
And we're sitting at DEFCON 4.
All right. It looks like the light is green. Somebody needs to mute their audio.
It's green. CoCoTALk.
Somebody needs to mute their audio. You need to mute that.
CoCoTALk.
You need to mute that, Ron. Is that TV playing?
Yes.
Mute the TV. Turn the volume down. It's coming through twice.
No, it isn't me.
Testes 1 2. Testes. Okay, sound loop has been broken. All right, we're going to do it live. All right, everybody, CoCoTALK episode 68 is going live in 3 fingers, 2 fingers, and my favorite finger. This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. Streaming live on YouTube and Roku, available as a podcast and enjoyed the world over. And now, here's your host. All right, everybody, welcome to CoCoTALK episode 68, where we say hooray for 10K. We're live, we're on the internet, we are here for your viewing pleasure. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to CoCoTALK episode 68. We got a great show for you today. Let's just jump right in and say hi and hello to everyone who's on the panel. I'm going to go in a reverse order. So I'm going to start in the bottom left-hand corner. We're going to do the upside-down Australian version of clockwise today. So how about we start off with a very big hello and good eye to Nick Marentes. How are you, Nick?
I was just muted. Good day, everyone. How are you?
Good day, everyone. I was looking for my crickets button. All right, and Nick is here. Also joining us, very special treat. We've got royalty with us here. Sir David Ladd, Lord of the Floppies, has joined us. Hello, David.
Good day, everyone. How is everyone today?
So much better now that we've heard the sound of your voice.
The dulcet tones of Sir David.
Thank you, Stevie. It's so good to be here.
And it's so good to have you. We have Mr. Sunshine himself. Richard Lorbieski is with us from Boyson Technologies.
Oh yeah, still here doing my community service. Going on to the show by force, but that's okay.
That's it.
Wow,
All
what
right.
did you do to get such a long sensor? Did you kill somebody or something?
No, I think I was scalping tickets or something like that.
Ah.
All right, and I'm not sure how to handle who's in the middle, so I'll take care of the outside of this first. But we also have another one of our foreigners here from Canada. We have Bill Noble. How's it going, eh?
Pretty good. How is everybody?
Not bad, not bad. We've also got with us the guy who brought us Stellar Lifeline from sunny Southern California, Mr. Steve Bjork, everybody.
Hey there, everybody. How you doing?
We're doing good. Our resident Apple guy. Also the timekeeper of our show, the guy who puts in all the comments and timestamps and other pertinent things, Mr. Mark D. Overholzer is with us. Hello, Mark.
Good day. Glad to be here.
From the very cool and temperate and always overcast Arizona, we've got the Timberman himself, Ron Del.
How's it going?
It's going good. Another foreigner on the show, we have L. Curtis Boyle. How's it going, E?
It's going good, eh?
Hey, doing really good, really good. We have the creator of Temple of Rom, creator of Shanghai, bomb threat for the color computer, currently working on OmniStar. Mr. Rick Adams is here.
Hello there.
Hello, hello. We have a man who knows more about the basic interpreter than should be allowed on any planet in the civilized universe. Mr. James Diffendaffer is with us.
Greetings, and by the way, we appear to be gone from Coco TV.
We appear to be gone from Coco TV through no fault of my own. And last but certainly not least, we have somewhere going down in an orchard, somewhere a very vista view of a road and some trees. But Jason, the Coco Man Reichert, is here. Hello, Jason. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Greetings from beautiful, sunny western Pennsylvania.
Oh, beauty, eh?
Yeah, and can I get a train noise? This bike path used to be a rail right away.
Wait a second. That's the wrong button. Hold on a second here. There we go. Woo-hoo.
Apparently that train was going in circles very fast.
We got a bunch of people watching us in the live chat right now. So Mark Overholz was here. Curtis Boyle. Steve Powell says, greetings. Evan Wright says, hi, everybody. Tom C. says, hey, how you doing? How you guys doing? I'm from Jersey. Right? Oh, Bomb Threat. Did I say Bomb Threat or did I say Bomb Squad? Did I screw up your game, Rick? No? Okay, good. Steve Powell's here. Evan Wright is here. Insert boilerplate greeting. Steve Powell, Steve Bjork, Sean Ernst is here. Hello, Sean. Mark Siegel says hello. And Al Hartman. Al, we're no longer on Skype, and unfortunately we can't really try to do a tutorial during the live show. But yeah, in Discord we've been talking for weeks how we've been switching over. So we'll have to catch you up off the air in order to get you on the show. But hello to all of you here. The main thing I just want to say today, if you haven't noticed the greeting and everything else, but we've reached a pretty interesting number, I think, on the podcast version of the show, which was we passed and exceeded 10,000 downloads. And I just think that's a cool number. It's a number that makes me proud of the show we have become, of the group that we've become, the panel of friends, the community that's gathered around, how everybody comes together every week to be on the show, to watch the replays, to listen while they drive, whatever the case may be. It blows my mind. It literally does, because half the time I'm figuring, how am I going to get through this crap today? But somehow there are people who actually watch this on purpose and listen on purpose. And all I want to say is, thank you. You're too kind. Thank you. So,
and we also sometimes are wondering, are we going to have anything to talk about? That's
yes. A show about nothing. So
the Seinfeld of the retro world.
And luckily enough people showed up. I also changed to I'm taking the show back to my original gamer channel. And let me attempt to explain my madness here for just a second. And let me just switch back. How do I get to like my screen here with the news, for example? All right, so what I'm showing you right now is the homepage of my original gamer Stevie Stroh YouTube channel. This was the first channel I had. This is where I started, and then at some point in time I said, well, let me break my channel into multiple channels and whatever. So, but what's happening now, what I want to point out here is this, is that, CoCoTALK as a show, obviously we're here celebrating it, we're here watching it. For those of us who know what it is and those of us who like it, we think it's a pretty good thing, right? So CoCoTALK by itself is kind of a phenomenon in the fact it's existed as long as it has, and it's enjoyed the success it has as far as an audience and a community, but it also has spawned other shows, right? So the first thing we did is we started doing this show called CoCoTALK After Dark, which we originally started just doing on the Facebook Live, right? And so the idea behind CoCoTALK at least was, because it's a podcast and it's on iTunes, I'm like, well, we want to try to keep the language clean. We're adults, we're going to say an adult word on occasion, but we don't try to be swanky sailors on this show, right? But CoCoTALK After Dark, we're like, okay, well, let's just let our hair down, especially David Ladd, and let's have some drinks. We're gonna drink while we're talking. It's gonna be like hanging out at a bar or at a lounge, and let's just have some fun, free, loose conversations. And if you haven't seen those shows, I've kind of put them all together in a playlist, and I always find myself listening later on and catching things I missed, because it's really hard to absorb everything as it's coming in. So I think CoCoTALK After Dark's been a fun show, and then we kind of spawned a few other shows from there. And I've mentioned this before, I wanted to try to promote these and get more activity here, and I'm still making progress in laying that foundation. But CoCoTALK is great, and the fact that we have over 10,000 people that have wanted to listen to a show about the Coco, hey, great. I mean, it's good, but what if we start talking about, other things like arcade machines and Apples and Commodores and Ataris? Maybe more people might want to watch. Maybe more people might want to join. Maybe we can get a little bit bigger and touch a larger sphere of influence. So we started some pilot episodes of Retro Talk, right? So Retro Talk is basically CoCoTALK about any computer, right? It doesn't have to be just a color computer. And we've done a few of those, and those were fun. And then we even did a few that are called Geek Talk, where I'm like, listen, we're going to talk about computers. Let's talk about anything, right? Why limit that? And I think the moral of the story is if if people get together and you share some common interests, I think we can entertain ourselves and entertain like-minded viewers and, just have some fun while we're at it. So in an effort to not only promote that, but I want to centralize that, because we had CoCoTALK was on this channel and CoCoTALK After Dark was on that channel, and it was kind of all over the place. So I don't want it to be fragmented. So I'm trying to bring everybody here, have everybody come to one landing spot, and then as more things happen, hopefully we can get those words out. So that was my long-winded explanation of why we're here. Does that make any sense? Hey, Disney Saints fan is just here too. Hello, Disney. And so it just amazes me that with all the tools we have, that there are things that people still don't realize are out there. So yes, let me just switch back one more time, because Jason, you're a perfect example. Jason has been aware of our show and the things we do, but when I posted a replay of an interview of Chris Latham this week, because it came up on Skype that it was his birthday, said, hey, it's Chris's birthday. So I posted a link to the interview we did with Chris Latham, the guy who made Donkey King and Sailor Man, right? And so I should point out that on this same channel, and kind of one of the things that happened before CoCoTALK happened is we got to interview people like Rick Adams, right? Rick Adams was our first celebrity interview. And then we had Curtis. Curtis isn't really a celebrity though, right? So, and then we had...
I was Fuller, I think they call it in the industry.
We got to talk to John Linville about his early projects where he was releasing games and ROM cartridges for the Coco. We had some really spontaneous times. Like the first time we spoke to John Strong and Nick Marentes, before I really knew who they were, we were just doing a live stream. I was doing like a marathon, right? Let's play some Coco games. Let's do a marathon. I think I was playing, I don't remember what I was playing. I think I was trying to play Donut Dilemma. And I didn't even know what the keys were. And then Nick came in and was like saying, oh, yeah, you got to press this key and press that key. And that was one of the first times that my head exploded before episode 66, where, it's like the author of the game is actually here with me while we're playing the game. And, it was one of those things. So we had John Strong and Nick Marentes came in. We got to interview Dale Lear, and I'm so thankful I did get to speak with Dale before he passed. I felt like I finally got to, I'm so glad we shared that a little bit of time, and I know Rick's got a lot more time there, so that was really nice. We got to interview like Simon Jonas and Lee Patterson, which were making a lot of new stuff, so some of the new kids on the scene and hear how they were making software. The image producers I thought was a great interview. These are the guys who made software for the Coco when it was still on a piece of plywood, right? They had worked on the prototypes to the Coco and made some of the earliest software. The premiere of Popstar Pilot, it just goes on and on. John Strong and Alan Huffman. These guys were talking about Sur Sound a year before anybody knew what Sur Sound was and before there was sound chips on the market. So those were cool discussions. We talked to Jerry Buckner from Pac-Man Fever. We talked to Chris Latham. There's just so many things that we had on here. So all this stuff is out here, and it's like it was out there, and some people know about it, some people don't. So I think what I have to do from time to time is just kind of remind people of what's there, because social media is far-reaching, but it's also very vapid. It's like the information goes real quick too. So I just want to try to bring everybody back here and remind everybody that we've got lots of content for you to watch in your off time.
Vapid.
Yes.
Cord.
Yeah. All right. So I'll shut up now. Sorry about that, guys. All right. Thank you. Good night.
What the crickets are.
You've prattled along enough, so.
Yes. Project updates, acquisitions. I think Mark Overholzer, you wanted to mention something?
Oh, yes. Next weekend is...
Hold on. Let me make you big. Hold on. How do I do this? We got new software here. There we go. Mark Overholzer. You have the floor.
There we go. So next weekend is BCF West, which is in Mountain View, California, at the Computer History Museum. And I'm going there primarily for Saturday, because they're going to be the Arata Online guy, Thomas Cherryholmes, is giving the presentation, as well as the guy Brian Deere, who wrote the book about the friendly orange glow. Pull one out here. Let me see what it looks like.
The untold. Oh, neat. And this is what Thomas Cherryholmes has been evangelizing for so long now.
Yep. So yeah, he read Brian's book here and talks all about the background history, and so they're both going to be speaking there on Saturday.
Excellent, excellent. And this is in what part of California?
Mountain View, which is Silicon Valley.
How far is that from you where you are now, Mark?
9 hours.
9 hours. Wow. That's a drive. Well, God bless you for making it.
No worse than David Ladd or Grant making the trip to Cocoa Fest. So.
Right. And you can do it in one day, right? You can you can leave when the sun is up, and hopefully the sun's still up when you get there. So that's a manageable drive for people who are in the twilight of our years, like we are. Some of us old folks. I would need some type of orthopedic pillow. My oxygen machine and stuff. But yeah,
self-driving car.
That's pretty cool. I
believe we won't get any earthquakes like Rick was mentioning he experienced when he was living near Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I hope not. They do happen occasionally. So.
And Richard Lorbieski, last week you premiered your 2 megabyte Miracle Machine product.
Yes, the Boomerang E2. Yes. And I was very surprised of the overwhelming success of the launch. I put the announcement in Sunday morning, and the first day I got 30 orders, which is really phenomenal.
Wow.
And to date, right now, I have 55.
Wow. Man, it's been a week.
Yeah.
I think in the Cocoa community that counts as a bestseller.
Yeah, especially for 1 week's time. The previous commercial product for memory would be the Triad, right, from Cloud9. And now, was it always called the Triad before when he was in different form factors, or just until he went to that triangle
just
shape?
When he went to the
okay. So Cloud9 has been making memory for years, but the Triad has been around for several years. I think just recently, right before Cocoa Fest, it was announced that the sales of that were about 500 units. But that was, over, I don't know how many years the Triad's been in that form factor, at least 1 or 2, right? So to reach 10% of those sales in less than 7 days, that's pretty good. To me, it's very clear that the things that move the most are hardware. It seems like hardware, if you have a hardware product, everybody wants hardware. Not everybody's going to want a game. But if you got an RGB cable, if you've got a memory chip, if you've got a VGA adapter, if you got something like that, no matter what you use your Cocoa for, you're gonna want or need some type of hardware add-on. The multi-packs, the Cocoa SDCs. To me, it seems like that's, if you wanted to plan something on purpose, make hardware.
I don't know. I think Nick could attest. Sales of software can be pretty good too, because Popstar's doing pretty good. And I was actually thinking just this past week after seeing the initial sales, is that maybe some of the people that are involved in the gaming community and the hardware community for RAM upgrades could make a bundle deal where you get Popstar Pilot plus the 512K if you only had 128K.
Mm-hmm. If
you get a 2 meg board or whatever, so that you can run the newer games that require it. That might be a nice cross promotion between the two.
Yeah, it would. But I think the other reason why sales were so strong is because I have all you had to do was go on there, order it immediately, and you didn't have to email. You didn't have to email me and say, "I want this ship. I want this. How much is it going to cost to ship to this place?" And going back and forth. It was just you went in, you ordered it, you said, "Okay, I'm from this city," and shipping was automatically calculated and everything else. So I think that was one of the reasons why there was such strong sales.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good. So you've got a turnkey e-commerce system that requires no human interaction.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because I was in Houston at the time when all these orders were. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I couldn't believe I was sitting down for dinner and I had like 5 orders just in the course of eating dinner.
That's pretty cool, right?
Yep.
What were your expectations, just out of curiosity? Like how many were you expecting to sell?
I was expecting maybe 10 to 15 on the first day. If I would have been like overjoyed just on that, but 30. It was just...
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I think I will probably order some for my Cocos, even though they have RAM. They're not the new and cool. And when I say cool, it's not just the hip word cool, but temperature cool memory upgrades. So when my Rage Quit disability check comes in next month, I think I will place an order or 2. So that's a good thing there. So.
I myself, I'm planning on getting both that upgrade and Jim's 8 meg CoCoMem upgrade at the next fest because I want to get my Cocos kind of refurbished with caps and stuff too. So I want to write software that can support both because there are some extra features on the 8 meg.
I think the challenge, Curtis, is in order for the 8 meg upgrade to be available, he's waiting on people to help him test it on Nitrous 9. You know anyone who might be able to help him with that?
Once I'm out of my rush season, I do plan on helping him. I just can't do it right now. I mean, the base 8 meg is already tested and work because we had software drivers done. The RAM disks and stuff are already out there, have been for 2 decades since Paul Barton did the No-Can 3 board because it's using the same scheme. What we have to do is add in the extra testing for the extra DAT registers, and there's some speed ups with graph-driven stuff in Nitrous 9 that'll automatically come because of that. So I definitely will be helping him. This is a terrible time for me to be able to do anything really.
Very cool. Sean Ernst said the order process was very smooth. So there's one of your satisfied customers out there, Richard.
Oh,
Sean
yes.
Ernst.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, cool. Anybody else had anything they were working on this week or anything they come across they thought was cool they want to share with everyone?
If you get a chance, stop by Ron's Garage and just scroll down and look at all the crap on there, or even show me your Coco. There's a lot of people that have wound up putting their machines on there, and it's kind of cool to scroll through and see what people are currently using, attached to their machine. And, monitor and so on. So it's cool to look at.
Yeah, some of the ones I like to see on there, Ron, are when you post anything that Paul T. Barton is working on, because it's always very cerebral for me to see all these components laid out with the different colored wires interconnecting things, and it just looks extremely electronic when you see. I always see Rick Adams there, and yeah, I do. Let's make Rick's screen large here.
I just hope that somebody's able to find pictures of Paul's CoCoZilla from the bottom, because I remember that thing was just a wire wrap, nightmare, I guess I would call it, because I'm not a big fan of doing wire wrap.
Yeah,
it was phenomenal to see it.
Are we looking at OmniStar here, Rick Adams?
Yeah, I'm currently getting my butt whipped.
All right. So this is. Yeah, I cannot wait to play. There's so many things I wanted to do this week. I wanted to play OmniStar. I've got some really good ideas on how to add my asteroid showers to my game that I haven't had time to do. Work, like real life work, has really been, I guess, it's a good thing, but it's kept me so busy I haven't had time.
You and me both.
For hobby stuff. I'm starting to feel like Curtis Boyle. Yeah, I mean, it sucks.
You'll be growing a mullet and everything.
Yeah. I'm like, why is Curtis always so busy talking about work, man? What is this? So, anyone else? Nick Marentes, anything new for you this week?
Oh, not much. I've had a busy week as well, and I've been trying to compose my musical track to my game, but I haven't had much time. Just a question for Rick. The program, your OmniStar, is that in OS 9 or it's in BASIC?
Well, it's in Assembler.
Assembler, rather, yeah. But it's not OS 9, is it?
No. So all the windowing is done with my two strong, capable hands.
Right. No, just wondering because it's. Is there any graphics in the game, or is it mainly text?
There's going to be graphics, but not yet.
Oh, okay. No, I just thought if it was only going to be text, you could do it in OS 9.
OS 9 would have been a really good platform to do this game in because it involves a lot of text and a lot of windowing. Mm-hmm. So it would have been a really logical choice, but that's not what I did.
So there.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that's what I did.
That's his story, and he's sticking to it. OS 9 is not just for multitasking anymore. So that's one of the articles that came up this week. Bill Noble, we don't get to speak to you very often. Anything cool and exciting going on with you and your hobbies?
Yeah, there is actually. Let me get out of the noise here. I actually do have a new combination of co-win and draft day.
Hold on, you got to start over. I was making some noise for you while you were getting ready. Go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry. A new combination of what now?
Co-win and draft drive that does not actually take up 16K out of the system space to actually load GraphDrive anymore.
Oh, you got that working now?
It's almost. I've actually I ran into one little small issue that I'm actually working out right now, where I have to actually set up the data image based on whether it's going to be 8K or 16K for GraphDrive.
Oh, okay, cool. Because and since I'm so far behind on the next ease of use release, then I can incorporate that with some other bug fixes we've been doing.
Right.
Yeah. But I should have it actually this week here.
Cool.
Just gotta actually find a way to map in the actual one block of GraphDrive's module header so I can actually figure out how big it is so I can actually extend the data image and go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's for anybody who doesn't speak Nitrous 9, what you were just talking about is something that that Curtis has mentioned before when one of our questions had to do with the 8K MMU and things like that. So I'm trying to connect all these dots here. So this is stuff that loads for Nitrous 9, but it takes up less memory now when it loads and takes up less MMU blocks. Is that?
Yeah, basically the way OS 9 works, or Nitrous 9 works, is that the main graphics driver package that does all the windowing and stuff gets loaded into a separate task unto itself, so it can have its screens and get put buffers and fonts and all that kind of stuff all mapped in. But briefly, when the system's booting, it tries to load it in along with the main boot, which is your disk drivers and all that kind of stuff too. And on the 6809 version of Nitrous 9, the graphics driver module itself, the program part, is past 8K. So now it takes 2 MMU blocks, which means when you're trying to boot a module or a boot file that has like DriveWire and a bunch of other stuff in it, it actually literally runs out of room and crashes. But on the 6309 version, because it's more optimized and the graphics driver is still 8K and less, it doesn't have that problem, so you can boot it up just fine. So Bill and I had been discussing it probably a couple months ago now about a possible way to get around it so that we could just temporarily get it so it only takes 8K, even though it's a 16K driver, by mapping it out to begin with. And that's what Bill's been working on. And once he gets it working, then the 6809 and 609 versions will be back on even par. You can make a full-size boot file on both.
Very cool. So that's progress.
Yeah.
Necessary progress. That's cool, Bill. Now, Bill, have you been working with some of the other systems too, like the Matchbox and the Mister and things like that?
Well, the Matchbox I've been kind of put off until I get this new GraphDrive going, because then I can continue extending that GraphDrive for Matchbox to handle all the higher resolutions. And
cool. Rob Inman is asking the question, where can somebody get the latest ease of use Nitrous 9? Is there an answer for that? Is joining Discord maybe one good answer? Join Discord and have them send you a message, and maybe you add them to the alpha or beta, wherever we are right now?
Well, I just posted to him because basically the next release is going to be a full public beta. It's going to be beta number 1. It's still nowhere near complete, but I've got enough people that want to try it out now that it's no point in making it a semi-private thing. So the next version will be completely publicly released. I'll put on Discord, we'll put on Facebook, and everybody else where to go grab it at the time. There's a couple big major bug fixes, including Bill's and a few others that I've been hoping to get to that I definitely want in the release. Right now I'm trying to get the bugs out, and then I'm going to start going back to adding the extra features back in.
Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, do you have, I know you're busy, I'm not trying to pressure you, but do you have a ballpark or ETA when that might be so him and other people know when to expect it?
I'm hoping sometime during August.
Okay. Sometime during August, so that gives us roughly 30 to 40 days.
30 to 34
yes,
something.
Okay. There you go.
This year?
This year.
Yes, this year. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah. And Grant's not with us right now, but have you used the ease of use at all, Ron Delvaux?
Yes, I have been using it. The planetarium program's a lot of fun to play with. And it tracks the moon's
phases.
Yeah, it does cool things, and then you can play a couple games on it. And been doing that.
Had you had experience with OS 9 too much before ease of use?
Over the years I learned a little syntax, but you kind of forget it, and then as you play with it, it comes back to you.
Yeah.
But I don't. I'm not a programmer. I'm a user, and what he's doing is making using much more fun.
There you go. That's a great. That's a great little tagline right there.
It's great.
Ease of use.
The best comment on the ease of use and what its purpose and how it works is that I've heard is actually what Bruce Moore said when he in the discussion we'll probably be getting into a little bit later from Facebook. mentioning that when we set it up at the Cocoa Fest, I mean, kids were just coming up and playing games without being taught anything about OS9.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
That's a pretty good plug as to exactly what we're trying to do.
Right, right.
Yep.
Paul Fiscarelli has joined us in the live chat, says, hey, guys. Hey, Paul. Sean Ernst says he's looking forward to try that. Al Hartman has joined us. Hey, Al, welcome to the program. I see you're muted, but hello. Okay, cool, Bill. Well, we always appreciate hearing from you, Bill, when your time permits, and always glad to hear what's going on. How are you, Al Hartman?
Doing okay. Sorry, missed the last two Coco Talks. A little personal life intruded.
Okay, it's coming out of your paycheck, but that's fine.
You mean I get paid for this?
not for the past 2 weeks, you don't.
You get paid on par with the rest of us.
That's right.
Don't retire on this.
Or fulfill your community service.
Yeah. What is the percentage of 55 boomerangs divided by the 13 people in the call right now? We should each get a nickel.
I figure about 2 cents.
Oh, I don't care about that. I want a boomerang big time.
Yeah, right.
My Coco's got an old 512K board I bought from the Coco Lounge, and that's so hot you can fry an egg on it.
Yeah.
And I want to get that out of there because it's melting my case.
And there you go. Well,
melting.
Ron Delvos used to say eggs frying in Arizona, right? Anywhere on the sidewalk, you can drop an egg.
You can cook.
You just need to move up to Canada and do it outside in the winter. Then you'll be fine. It's almost like it's super cooled.
And I don't know that I need 2 megs, but I'll take it. And the protector part that'll protect my CPU is definitely useful because I have blown CPUs once or twice while demoing my Coco at a computer club. Someone came and pulled out my multi-pack while the system was running.
Ooh.
My CPU.
Did they survive?
Unfortunately, I'm not a mean person, so I just glared at them.
So you really beat him within an inch of his life then, right? Just kidding.
Something.
You need to bring a 5,000 volt transformer with you.
No, I just told him go buy a Commodore.
You should have given the multi-pack to plug into a Commodore and see what happened.
Oh, wow.
I wish I knew what happened to that multi-pack. I still have the Coco with a new CPU. I put a 6309 in it, but I don't have the multi-pack anymore. I guess
Well, just wait for Ed Snyder's new multi-pack because it's got a lot of extra hardware plus 4 slots and it's a lot smaller. So
the problem is all you guys are making such great hardware and I don't have enough money to buy it all.
Hey, we're going to have someone put together a Coco that has everything hooked to it.
A repack.
Yeah.
The CoCoZilla 2 or something?
Something.
When I worked with Zebra Systems, one of our customers, who you can see in the videos on YouTube, the Zebra on TV, John Sampson, he came in with his ZX81 setup. He brought the whole thing in. And it was a ZX81 that had a color video adapter, 64K of RAM, a word processing cartridge, parallel printer port hooked up to a daisy wheel printer, disk drives, and Stuart took one look at that and said, that's the tail wagging a chihuahua. There was so much plugged on the back of that thing. I said, John, why don't you just get a PC? Because look at all the stuff he says, but I love my Timex.
Yeah.
Bill and I could tell you about our super system we used to have on our Coco 3 at work too, which is actually way beyond that. So
you don't have a good Coco unless when you turn it on, the lights dim.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of one.
Back in the day when I ran my Coco as my main system, I mean, I had a Gemini 10X printer, I had a Votech interface, I had the multi-pack, I had an 80-column card, I had the modem, I had, what else did I have? I had the Coco Max cartridge, I had the Spectrum voice pack, I have a speech systems voice pack, I have a speech systems, the opposite of the voice pack. It does the voice recognition.
Ears.
Yeah, ears. I have ears. I don't know
wow.
what I have in my box Coco stuff, but
I'm giving David Ladd a run for his money on uses for a 16-port multi-pack right there. So
I had a Disto super controller all tricked out, and I loaned it to the programmer at Zebra, who was going to write a program that supported it, and then he disappeared, and my super pack disappeared, and then, that kills me because you can't get those anymore. Those packs were really, really great.
All right. Well, I think it's probably time for us to take a brief break. We're gonna mention our sponsors. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then Mr. Steve Bjork, are you ready to deliver part 4 in our ongoing series on learning assembly on the color computer?
All set.
All right. So we've got another assembly segment, very popular segment, free of charge, like all the content here on CoCoTALK. We're also celebrating the fact that, we've reached 10,000 downloads on the podcast. I crunched some numbers. Again, part of my challenge is being fragmented, but CoCoTALK started off on one channel, and then I started the new Coco channel, and I reposted the old episodes and new episodes there. So I actually had to crunch all of those numbers between both channels. But CoCoTALK on YouTube has gotten almost 18,000 views on YouTube, plus the 10,000 downloads that we have on the podcast. And again, I think that's a respectable number in the context of we're talking about one system, a 30-year-old, pretty obscure system. And we have people like David Ladd and Al Hartman who like to put 45 adapters on one computer. So that's our target audience. And so we've gotten almost 30,000 people to listen to people talk about this insanity. So I view that as nothing short as it's amazing. I'm honored. I'm thrilled. I'm proud to be a part of this. This is a very collective experience. It's bigger than all of us because it's made by all of us. So I'm really proud to be part of this, and I want to thank all you guys who are here and all you guys who are watching. It actually does mean something to me. What does it say here? Nick Marotta says, is there any use remaining sub to the CoCoTALK, etc.? No, yeah, you can still say subscribe to the other Color Computer channel because I'll still post content there. But as far as the live talk shows, I want to have all my live talk shows in one place. Spot. Yeah. Now, let's take a moment to recognize some of our sponsors and some of the people who contribute to our community. Talking about hardware. Hardware is a popular thing, right? So, Coco VGA, very cool hardware project. If you've got a Coco 1, 2, or Dragon that you would like to output to a modern display very cleanly with bonus features like artifacting, 64-column modes, extra graphics modes, and more, check out CoCoVGA.com. The maker of the hottest selling hardware product of the past 7 days, the Boomerang board, available at boysontech.com, where you can actually place your order online and not have to email somebody or PayPal somebody. You just say, this is what I want, this is what I want it shipped. You click a button and poof, it shows up. So go to boysontech.com for all kinds of cool new hardware for your Coco. Making of many fine retro products for many fine retro systems, Jim Brain at Retro Innovations at go4retro.com. Maker of fine Coco products for nearly 2 decades, Cloud9 Technologies at cloud9tech.com. Another cool project, a community project. If you want to make an SD card boot up like a ROM pack, check out the DIY at sdpack.com. One of the hottest selling hardware products of the past millennium, the Switcheroo RGB2 Shart cable, available at cocoman.biz. Check out that. Want to remind you all that not only are we streaming live on YouTube, but we're also streaming live on Roku TV, on the Coco TV channel, thanks to Roger Taylor. If you want to look cool like we look, you can get yourself a cool t-shirt, coffee mug, adult diaper, orthopedic shoes, whatever you need. We got some cool merchandise at 8bit256.com, official swag of the Original Gamer and the CoCoTALK show. If you like the color computer, visit imacoconut.com. If you want to find out more about our show, cocotalk.live is the website where you can find out how to reach us on social media, send us emails, etc. The show that gave the community a jump start a couple years ago, the Coco Crew podcast, available for your listening pleasure every month at cococrew.org with over 37 back episodes for you to binge enjoy. Good friend of the show, Brian Joyce of Extructus Productions at fd501.com. Check him out. Another guy who has made a product or two. You know, I don't know what the Coco SDC, I don't know, mini MPI, mega MPIs. You know, Ed Snyder's dabbled in Coco hardware. So check out what Ed Snyder's got up his sleeve at thezipsterzone.com. All right, so there's our community plugs. Stand by for a commercial break, and we'll be back with assembly language on CoCoTALK.
Hi, I'm Kieran Anscombe, author of XRAW, and your brain is resolving sensory input into CoCoTALK.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Noble, co-author of Nitrous 9. You are listening to CoCoTALK Live, the leading live CoCoTALK show.
G'day mates, this is Nick Marionettes, author of such colour computer titles as Donut Disaster, Rupert Rhymes, and Rockstar Pilot. And I am here today to tell you about the world's most fabulous operating system, OS 9. OS 9 and its current incarnation Nitrous 9 is the most advanced operating system ever created. And what makes it so good? Ease of use. I find OS 9 so incredibly intuitive that I haven't once cracked open the user manual, and yet I've been able to create such incredible games faster than the time it takes to sing Waltzing Matilda. Using OS 9, I expect my next game, Funstar, will be done this weekend and distributed exclusively on ROM cartridge. OS 9 forever.
Any resemblance to actual events to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
What's going on, everybody? The Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and I want to talk to you about I'mACoconut.com. If you love the color computer like I love the color computer, then you got to visit I'mACoconut.com, your one-stop shop for all of your Tandy color computer links needs. There you'll find links to blogs and podcasts and project sites and emulators and downloads and groups and communities. If you love the color computer, head on over to I'mACoconut.com. That's I-M-A, Coconut.com. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you. Coco forever, people.
It's a RadioShack Merry Christmas. This year, I needed to give a real family pleaser.
Honey, please help me with this budget.
How about a new game, Dad? Please.
And I found it. RadioShack's Color Computer 2. On sale for just $99.95. It entertains, educates, manages, it's expandable, and affordable. Now that really pleases me.
The Color Computer 2. Sale priced for Christmas. Only at RadioShack.
All right, well, we are back. And we are back at CoCoTALK Live. And we've got a very popular segment, especially with all the millennials. All the young kids these days are really saying, you know what? If only I could learn a 30-year-old language that lets me communicate with a 40-year-old processor in an efficient way, I could Snapchat the hell out of that, right? So that brings us to assembly language with Steve Bjork, who is very graciously sharing with us his knowledge and wisdom on this subject, and he's presented us with prepared another presentation. I can't talk. All right, but how about we do this? Let's see if my music is working, because Curtis Boyle's giving me all kinds of little cool sound clips. So let's try one of these here at random. Whoa. Let's get our assembly going, people.
Okay, well, this week we're moving along more with the 6809 command set, the instructions that are inside the processor. And we're going to take a look mostly at the ones that do arithmetic, math work, and like that. But first, we're going to kind of do a little bit of recap by looking at storage. See, most instructions either move information into the CPU, move it out, or manipulate it in some way. And so we're going to look at loading and storing, moving the basic instructions for moving information around inside the computer, and then doing a little math. And then we'll get into some of the other ones. So go to the next slide there, Steve. All right. We're going to take a look at loads data, saves data, and math. Later, we're going to talk about logical operations, branching, and system operation, commands that kind of affect the status of the CPU. So why don't we go to that next slide? We're going to take a look at load. We kind of talked about this one last week before with basically you can move information into the CPU by moving into any of the registers. Your registers are A and B, which are 8-bit. Then you have D, X, Y, S, and U, which are 16-bit. That's why they call this an 8/16-bit CPU. The first CPUs, like the 6800 and the good old 6502, those are strictly pretty much 8-bit CPUs. Their mathematical operations were only 8-bit. Now, there's another thing that's whenever you're doing work such as loading and saving and arithmetic, you're going to affect the condition code registers. And these are special registers that let you know things like, was the number 0 that you just loaded, or was it a negative number, which we'll talk more about later. But basically it sets some of the registers. So like, for example, up at the top, we've got load A with FF02. What that does, loads the A register, which is an 8-bit register, with the information that's stored at FF02, which happens to be an I/O port on one of the PIAs. And of course, that's 8 bits. Now, when you load up A and B, those are only 8-bit operations. And as I said earlier, the D, X, Y, S, and U are 16-bit registers, and you only load up 16-bit. Now, I noticed in Discord, there was somebody trying to play around with, they didn't quite understand why they couldn't load up just the upper part or the lower part into a 16-bit register. But you just got to remember that there's 8-bit modes, 16-bit modes, and the twain shall never meet. You have to do one or the other. In any case, let's go to the next slide. Just like you had load, you got store. You can take the information that's inside the CPU in the registers and store it into a memory location. And in case like store A at FF02 means take the information that's stored in the A register and put it at memory location, which happens to be an I/O port of FF02. It's an 8-bit operation when you use the A and B registers, and 16-bit when you use the D, X, Y, S, and U registers. Also, the condition code register is affected on the 0 and negative flags. These are flags that are useful for figuring out what's going on in doing branch operations. Let's go to the next slide. Well, lots of times, and you've seen this with your own basic programming, you basically just want to load a 0, or you want to work with a 0. Well, they actually give you a command so that you can clear either the A register or the B register to 0, or you can clear a memory location. This is only 8-bit operation on the 6809. There's no 16-bit clears.
Okay.
So and it does affect the, it sets the 0 flag after the instruction's done. So you know that the last operation came up with the 0, obviously, since you just basically loaded A with 0 or loaded a memory location with 0. And then the negative flag is cleared, because obviously a negative number, 0 is not a negative number. But basically, that's one thing that they found that programmers use a lot, is they clear things. They set them to 0. So they made this a special case instruction. But once again, on the 6809, this is strictly an 8-bit only operation. It does not work on the D, X, Y, U, and S registers. Okay, let's move to the next slide. We're going to get into math. The math on this particular CPU is fairly simple. We can add and subtract numbers. There is a multiply command, but we'll talk about that next week. Anyways, first one up is a simple add. Add allows you to add a number to either the A, B, or D registers. So A and B would be 8-bit operations. The D register is a 16-bit operation. In the example that I show you of add A, number 3 means take the number 3 and add it to the A register. It's only an 8-bit operation. The next example I give you after that one is add D to, from add 03 to D. D, as you recall, was the 16-bit register of A and B put together. And it goes to memory locations 03 and 04, with 03 being the high part of it, being like the A part of the add, and the 04, the byte after it, that's the low part, basically gets added to the B register. So it's a fast way to do a add of A and B together. It does 16-bit. Now, these are the only possibilities of doing something with the add command. They're the only registers you can add to. There is some tricks you can do with the other index registers, but we'll be talking about that sometime later. The carry flag, which basically means that if you added two numbers together, let's say we're doing an 8-bit add, and we add the number, let's say 200 plus the number 200 together, you're not going to get 400. What'll happen is you're going to get a carry plus what the remainder would be. See, the thing is, when you only got 8 bits, 8-bit stops at 255. 256 is basically would be carry plus a 0 because you rolled over. So the carry flag will be set. There's a thing called a half carry. That's somewhere in the middle of the byte. If you had, let's say, 10 plus 10 together, you get 20, but that's really halfway through the byte you're adding a carry. Not half carries don't get used too much. Then you also have the 0 flag being affected. It means that if you've done this addition and your product is 0, then the 0 flag is set. There's also a negative flag if you're working with signed numbers, and we're going to be talking about signed numbers later on. We're just really talking about strictly integer numbers at this time. And then the overflow is used for if you have a signed number overflow. And all those flags are affected. And these flags are very important because lots of times you'll do some operation and then you'll branch to another part of your program based on the condition of these flags, such as if you had the overflow, that could be an error condition. So if basically you're doing integer numbers, you're adding together, and you get a carry, ooh, we just had a problem. Let's branch to a routine that's going to handle the fact that the number got too big. So,
yeah, the flags are kind of like, if trying to put it into basic terms, it's kind of like part of the if-then. The flags are used to figure out if a certain thing has happened, then do this. And that's the carry or the condition code combined with a branch based on the condition codes.
Like in BASIC, if you do a divide by 0, you get an error because you can't divide anything by 0. It creates an imaginary number. Well, BASIC basically creates that error for you and stops the program because you're doing something illegal. Well, you have to, in assembly language, figure out what is illegal and make sure that you take care of it. See, it's little things like that that does make assembly language program a little harder, because that's where bugs can creep in and you get weird things that happen. So these flags are going to be very important and like that. Let's go to the next one. Next slide. Now, before, as we said, you might add something together and you're going to get a carry because the number became greater. Well, they don't want to leave you out in alerts. They came up with add with carry. This means you could add two numbers together, and then the next thing you do is another add for the bytes that you're adding up, and you can have the carry from the last add affect what you're doing. So it's basically looking to see, oh, did the carry flag get set? Add one more. And you have add with carry only working on the A register and the B register. It does not work with the D register in the 1609 instruction set.
Yeah, and this is just like old-fashioned adding at school with math. If you were adding like 9 plus 4, it doesn't fit into the single digit. So you get a carry, you do 9 plus 4, and you put 3, and the carry, you put that little 1 over top of the second digit, and you add that, and you get 13, and that's exactly how this works here.
Okay.
Definitely. You know, it's a way to handle larger and larger numbers and make sure everything carries across, literally. And it's another important thing, which we will do examples of how you use it. So you're not left out in the lurch when you're adding up large numbers together. This will allow you to do the carry.
Yeah, and I just want to point out too, like some people might assume that this is used to say add D, right? Like you're adding B and then you're carrying into A. You can actually go with memory locations and make this number as big as you want. If you want to, a number that's 5,000 digits long, you can keep going through adding from the lowest to the highest with the carry, and you'll actually get the accurate result after the whole add's done.
See, in some of my video games that I create, the position information is 3 bytes long. Well, I can use the add D to do 2 bytes worth of information, but then I've got to use this add with carry to get that extra byte that I need for the computations. So it's very useful. But you only have add with carry on the A register and the B register. So if you're doing memory locations that you're trying to add up, you have to load up the A register or B register with the number, and then you could do an add with carry and like that. By the way, if we go back a couple of slides, one more and one more, back to the load. Notice that I state down at the bottom of this slide that the 0 flag and the negative flags are set when you load a number, but the carry flag is not affected. They were thinking ahead when they were making this CPU that they didn't want to change the carry flag from a numeric operation during a load. So you can sit there and load up information and have the carry flag not change on you. So when you do the add with carry, it works correctly. We'll go over exactly how that's used later in our math examples, but it's just one of the forward-thinking things that they're thinking about in designing the CPU to make programming easier for us. Let's go back to that slide. Yeah, add with carry. One more. And, well, we've got the add instruction. Well, it would be very helpful if we could subtract numbers too. Let's go to the next slide. Subtract works just like the add. You can add, or you can subtract numbers on the A, B, and D registers, just like you do the add. And the example I have here, subtract A with the number 3, subtracts the number 3 from the A register. You can also do a 16-bit by using the subtract D. And the example, it'll subtract from the D register that's inside the CPU with information that's stored at memory, in this example, memory locations 03 and 04. And of course, all the flags are affected. So you kind of know if you've had, if you subtract a larger number from a smaller number, you want to know that you've had a problem. And the flags will tell you. Let's go to the next one.
Let me ask you a quick dumb question here, because I'm trying to understand right now. When you talk about subtracting from the D register, so we have 16 bits. We're subtracting 3 from a 16-bit number, and you're saying it's applying to 2 8-bit locations, but wouldn't the 3 only get subtracted from the lower order bits and not both? Or
no, This is an extended addressing. Like you notice the number sign on the sub A, that means we're subtracting the literal number 3. That means basically A equals A minus 3. The sub B is using just the dollar sign, which means extended addressing, which means we're telling to subtract from a memory address whatever's stored in those memory addresses. So the memory address 3 is where you're getting a 16-bit number to subtract from D. It's not the literal number 3.
Okay.
Is that clear?
A little clearer, sure.
Yeah, we talked about that in the last lesson about the pound sign 3.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, pound is the decimal.
Yeah. Pound, well, no. Pound means immediate. The information of that we're subtracting is actually inside the instruction. It says, take this number that you see here and subtract it. Where the $3 says, this is the memory location that holds the number we're going to subtract from D.
Oh, so whatever's stored in D, we're saying subtract the value of location 3 from register D.
Right. It's actually locations 3 and 4.
3 and 4 because it's 2 bytes for that whole register.
It's 16-bit.
So
now, if we had said subtract A $3, it would only take what's held in memory location 03 and subtract it from A. It's just that because we are using D.
Right. Okay.
We're
right. So this is 16-bit subtraction from a 16-bit number. So you have to specify. You're assuming 2 locations.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm caught up now. All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
Well, you didn't read
the kind of questions we want.
Steve, you got to sit there and look at last week's lesson before you go through this one.
I was there.
Well, he had his brain meltdown from getting too technical recently, so he kind of lost some memory there.
Okay. The next up is kind of like what we had with add with carry. We got subtract from carry. And it's pretty much the same thing. If the carry flag is set, it subtracts 1 more so that we can basically handle something larger numbers, multiple numbers, as we talked about before with the add with carry.
Yeah. Sometimes this is referred to as subtract with borrow too, which is, I guess, the math term, but it's the same thing.
Exactly. And next slide. Well, remember before earlier, one of the popular things to do was basically get a 0 into a register or a 0 memory location. Well, adding 1 and subtracting 1 are very common operations. So they make a special case called INC. This adds 1 to a register or memory location. You can add 1 to registers A or B or to a memory location. This is only an 8-bit operation, 1 byte only operation. In the case
INC would mean increment.
Exactly. So INC A adds 1 to the A register. Now, if the A register's got the decimal number 255 in it, you INC it, it becomes 0. Because it loops around. And let's see, you can also INC a memory location. So like INC $3 will INC the memory location at 3. Now, only the 0 and negative and overflow flags are affected. The carry flag and the half carry flag are not. This is so that carry information could carry over from a previous add. So that's the one thing you gotta be tricky for. And usually most of the time programmers only care if the number is negative or 0 after this type of operation. But it's used for mostly counting.
Okay.
Like a for next.
Like a for next loop. Yeah.
Right.
And if we go to the next one, is decrement. And believe it or not, most assembly language programmers use this more than any other instruction because we like to count down.
Mm.
And the reason why we like to count down, let's say we want to do something 10 times. We load up the location with the number 10. When we use the decrement, guess what happens when we decrement 10 times? We end up with the number 0, which is makes it very easy to test whether or not we should loop.
Okay.
Just test the 0 flag.
If not equal to 0, then continue to decrement.
You got it. It's probably used more than any other instruction practically in doing coding of assembly. So But
Use
it works
all
just
the
like
time.
increment, except for it subtracts by 1. And that's pretty much it for this week. I wanted to keep the lesson short because wasn't sure how much discussion.
It's a lot to absorb if you've never done this stuff before. So
Right.
It's nice to do it in small chunks.
Now, somebody was asking me earlier on Discord what book I was basing my lesson on, and I chose not to base it on any particular book. This is based on my knowledge and of the instruction set like that. Plus, I've taught it before. But the key here is that we're going to go through and we're going to have little segments like this, bite-sized stuff. But you're more than welcome to download anything that's out there on the 6809 instruction set. Just do a Google search on that term, 6809 instruction set, and you're going to find the instructions. And each week we will continue to go through and fill it in. Now, we have a couple of special case instructions that we're going to talk about that are still in the math category, such as sex.
Multiply and sign extend, yeah.
Yep, sign extend. So we'll go with those next week, and then we'll get into the logical operations. That's where you're manipulating bits around, which are very handy for graphics. And
very cool.
We'll just keep moving on with that.
Yeah, I like it.
And we do encourage people, if they have questions, between the day of the episode's aired and the next week before the next one, if they have any questions or need clarification, anything that we discuss on this, that please send us an email or comment on YouTube or whatever, and we'll bring it up before the lesson and help clear things up if it's not totally clear to some people.
Right. You can do that in Discord if you're on the Discord server, which there should be a link to that in here. If not, I can put that for you. The other thing you can do is you can leave a comment on the video. So when you're watching this video in a replay, you can just leave a comment, and we'll get to that. Or you can send an email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live, and we'll get it that way.
Yeah, I'm also looking at trying to schedule maybe something like on Tuesday evenings at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, where we can just do some sort of assembly talk or something like that.
Okay, in Discord?
In Discord.
Okay.
And actually, I just wanted to mention too, my favorite book for actually learning assembly was Lance Leventhal's. That book was the one that taught me the most, aside from Steve himself, back in the day. So that's a good book to actually get into, is the Lance Leventhal 6809 series.
Good. Those, do you know if those are on the Color Computer Archive by any chance?
Yeah, it's on the Color Computer Archive.
Okay. Now, it wasn't, because I think the Coco crew had interviewed him. He had two different series, right? He had one that was like explaining all the instructions, and there was another one that was kind of like a reference set. Like, well, if I want to achieve this, what's the command I use to do that? So wasn't there two books he had on that? And I forgot the distinctions in the titles.
There was two different covers of the same book that I remember. I don't know. Was there a second copy, Curtis?
Yeah.
I don't remember a second book by Lance on the 6809.
Maybe it was a different author, but there was somebody who had all these processor books where he wrote all the books, and he had one book that basically just explained everything, and then the other one was more like a reference guide where
X?
I don't know. I'll have to go back and check on that. So was that Atkinson? So Ed Snyder says check out Darren Atkinson's instruction set reference for the different ones for the 680 and 6009s.
Yeah, he's got the 639 stuff in there too, and tells you which ones are unique to each. Yeah.
What's Mark got going on here? Which book is that, Mark?
Leventhal.
Hold on. I'm having a hard time figuring how to freaking click on one person now with this new software. I thought I had that down before. If I click on Mark one time.
Got the Lance Leventhal one up.
Yeah, that's the one I got.
Lance Leventhal. Okay.
Yeah. I think I've got that somewhere in my collection. Actually, when I was learning 6809, I just had some reference material from Mole Roll, and that was it.
Yeah, that little thin 8.5 by 11 or whatever it was.
Oh, it was a card that just kind of folded. That was like maybe 3 inches across by about
reference card printed with blue or purple. depending on which processor.
Actually, mine was green because it was early.
Were these done on a Ditto machine?
And there were some other good books too. I mean, Lawrence Teppel did some stuff that was Coco specific, as did William Barton Jr. There was also Rodney Zacks did a generic 6809 book too, which is pretty good. There's quite a few references to it. Just search on the web, you'll find them.
Well, see,
the Barton books were one of my favorites too.
See, before I learned 6809, I had 6502 under my belt, 6800, 8080, Z80, and there was an RCA chip, 18 something or other.
Wow.
1802 or something?
I had all these different chips, but as I'm going through the thing and I'm looking at the way everything's laid out, instructions, I go, this can't be this simple. Because it was like 8080. Every time you tried to do something, there was an exception. No, you can't do it that way because you're using these registers. No, you have to do it this way. And it's ridiculous. And with the 6009, it was like, okay, I want to do something. It was like there was 5 or different ways to do it. It was just figuring out which way was the best way.
All right.
With all these machines
really at that time fell in love with the 6809.
Do you ever get confused with all these instructions in your head?
Well, when I was working on developing the DVD system, I did get a little confused on that, but you know, it was all the different ways they wanted to do things on that. That was a fun project, but not now. 6809, I stayed very, very clear on that.
Yeah.
And the only other processor I liked almost as much was the 68000.
Yeah.
Okay, how about we do this real quick? Lessons learned from the past. We've just finished the presentation. Let's take a brief commercial break, and then we'll come back for the follow-up questions and answers from the panel and from the audience. And that way it doesn't become a super-duper long segment. But so far, I'm with you. I'm following you. I appreciate it. And I'm happy. So it's good, right? So
no rage quit today?
No rage quitting today. So we're going to take a brief commercial break, give everybody a chance to go potty, do whatever you got to do, and we'll come back, and then we'll have questions from the panel and feedback from the viewers on what we just learned in this week's assembly. So we'll be right back. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, this is Randy Kindig of the Floppy Days podcast. I just love me some Coco, and nobody covers it better than Steve Strobridge. You're listening to CoCoTALK.
Hi, this is the award-winning Alan Huffman of Subetha Software, and you're watching Stevie fall off cliffs.
Watching my head explode.
You've got your Coco 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai, and you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you.
RadioShack has a great gift idea for the whole family. Fast action TV games, and they're on sale. Get this 6-game model for $29.95 or the 4-game model for $21.95. With rising entertainment costs, that's a real bargain. You play hockey, tennis, squash, and more. Easy to hook up and great family fun that lasts all year long. The sale price TV games. Only at RadioShack, a Tandy company.
So that's one of the things that we'll hopefully talk about today. And by the way, we've been joined by Grant Leedy. Is Grant still here? Grant was here for a minute, and then he's gone. Okay, hopefully Grant will come back. And then Richard Lorbieski had to leave, and so I'm glad Richard was able to join us. He did say goodbye in the chat. Okay, very, very cool. All right, so we're back. We just finished the segment in assembly, and so now is the time for, I guess, the people in the panel maybe to chime in on what they thought of it, anything you wanted to ask or contribute or add to that, and we'll ask people in the audience too. Hey, Grant Leedy is back. Welcome back, Grant Leedy. Grant, do you copy? Earth to Grant. Major Tom to ground control. Okay. Grant.
Yes, I'm here.
There you go. Hey, welcome to the program, Grant Leedy.
Sorry, I had a little computer problems here today.
No problem. All right, so what? Peanut Gallery, what do you guys have to say about our latest assembly segment? Anyone?
What was the topic for today?
Well, hopefully it wasn't too long.
No, it was good. It was a good length. I like how the brevity of it was nice.
Do you have anything you want to add to it, Grant, or add with Carrie?
No, unfortunately, I missed part of it, so I will have to rewatch it here later. So
okay, yes. Paul Fiscarelli just gave us a thumbs up in the live chat. So thumbs up, great content. Yeah.
Oh, the only thing that I should really add is on the increment and decrement commands, it actually does set overflow when it reaches 0 or 255.
Okay.
All right.
And explain that in English.
That's where Steve was talking about that condition code register. It has an overflow bit.
Uh-huh.
And if you actually hit 256, it actually will set the overflow bit as well as 0.
Okay.
I should mention too, I mean, one thing Steve's mentioned that the 6-9, one of its beauties is that there's so many different ways to do things. You're not limited. I mean, you could do an add A1, which is the same as an inc, as far as, you know, adding 1 to it. The condition codes are a little bit different because it does more signed math and stuff, but basically you can do the same thing. But the advantage of increment or decrement, if it's the type of instruction you want to use with the condition codes you want to check for, is that it's actually a byte smaller. So actually will shrink your code compared to, say, doing a sub A number 1 or add a number 1 or something.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So, yeah, we just saw a commercial for RadioShack TV computer games, and I think that's one of our little news items that we'll get to in a little bit today is, you know, the fact that RadioShack is you know, you cut the tail off the lizard and sometimes it grows back. So RadioShack is reviving itself in some form.
Steve, I just want to say one thing. The Bill's comment.
Hold on. I need to
my
mute.
slide for increment and decrement, I do state that the overflow flag is affected.
Okay, it's in the slide. All right.
It's in the slide.
I had to mute Bill. I'm hearing a lot of background noise from Bill. So, Bill, I am going to unmute you, but you just know that you're generating some noise for us. So, yeah, that was in your slide. Okay, that's cool. Paul Fiscarelli said good. Now these are good segments. And what I need to do too is, here's my challenge. This is what I noticed too when I listen to the podcast and stuff. Is that Bill, you're killing me. Are you outside? No, you're muted now. Who else is outside? Maybe that's Jason. Okay, somebody's killing me with the wind there. So when I'm here on the show and I'm trying to absorb everything that's being said, there's only so much I can absorb when I'm hearing it live, because there's just so much distraction between background noise and the live chat, and there's this and there's that and the other. I just feel like I can never fully appreciate everything that happens while it's happening. And so one of the nice things is that when I make the podcast version and I listen to that in the car, because I'm listening for all these things like background noise and things like that, so I'm trying to do some quality control, I actually pick up on a lot of things that I didn't fully digest the first time around. And so I've noticed that on a normal show, and I noticed that a lot even on the After Dark shows when I was kind of proofing some of those, that there's so many things that get said, and some of the stuff that we're saying it so quickly, and people are sometimes talking over each other. Sometimes there's these little quips or these little comments and little funny remarks, and so many things happen. It's really hard to kind of process it all in real time. And I guess that's one of the benefits of being able to have these replay options and things like that. So I appreciate these segments, and I know they're gonna help a lot more people over time, things like that. Anybody else wanted to add on to the assembly talk before we move on?
Don't think so.
Okay. I do have a question. I don't know if we make this a discussion topic right now, or maybe we plant the seed and then we come back. But this is a question for not only the panel, but for the people viewing us right now. We've got 25 people viewing us live right now. I'm really curious because I know this show is different things to different people, and I'll use the Coco Crew podcast as an example. I like the Coco Crew podcast, but sometimes the tech segment is not a topic I'm interested in because I'm not technical, or sometimes I don't have time to listen to the tech segment, but I'll just kind of pick out and cherry pick the parts I want to hear. I love hearing, the host discussions. I like hearing news. I like hearing things like that. I love the games corner and stuff like that. But I kind of will sometimes fast forward through different parts that interest me. We have a lot of people in our community have a lot of different interests. I'm really curious to know what it is about the show that, what do you like about this show? I'd be curious about the panel. I'd be curious about the audience too. It's like, what do you guys like? What keeps you coming back? What's the magic moment?
Obviously, the high rate of pay you give us, I think, is the reason. Yeah.
The satisfaction in melting your brain.
The satisfaction of giving Stevie a hard time every week.
Yeah.
I love it when it reaches DEFCON 1.
Seeing David Ladd's latest haircut.
Yeah, I have to come back because I have to know if I win in the pool when the next time Stevie has a rage quit.
Yep. Well, here's the DEFCON meter right now. We're counting down.
Must be pressing the cam. Must be
I'm here for the train noises.
The train noises. There we go.
But remember, there is a betting pool, and I've got 2 more shows until he rage quits again.
Well, I need to get one of those signs and put up the sign because it has been 14 days since my last rage quit incident. So we need to be tracking that.
I think we're going to build one with an Arduino that keeps track automatically, synchronizes with the internet.
Say that again, Mark.
We're going to build with an Arduino controller and count down LEDs.
Okay, there you go. Michael Brandt says he likes the news and he likes the trolling. So,
I like the collaboration on a serious note.
Yeah.
I like the variety. That's my serious note would be the fact that not every show's the same. We'll concentrate in games. Some shows will concentrate in tech stuff. Some shows will concentrate in the news if there's a ton of it, like around a Coco Fest or something. So the fact that it's not the exact same thing every week.
Yeah,
that's polite for unplanned.
Yeah.
I like hearing stories from people.
Like,
I think Rick Adams talked about how he worked with the guy at Alani from Rainbow and just interacting with different people over time, and how people have experiences with their Coco as they were growing up, hearing stories about that and how it affected their lives. Some people have become famous or become an IT guy because they started in the Coco. Stories about that's cool.
Yeah. In the live chat, Nick Marotta says, I love retro. The Coco was a huge part of my life. You guys are like a group of friends. I like that you invite people to join. It's just a lot of fun. Thank you, Nick. John Linville says, only Coco content between the Coco Crew episodes, right? So that's kind of how I look at it. We're filler material for the Coco Crew. And we give them examples of what not to put on their shows.
Yeah.
We're kind of like the blooper reel for Coco Crew.
Yeah. Michael Brandt says he likes how it has encouraged developers, and I could say the same thing about Coco Crew too. I think when you give somebody a pat on the back, or just even I think a very important thing in life is just recognition or validation. And so in the fact that if you're working on a project, it's one thing, but if a perfect example for me, if I try to do things on YouTube and nobody watches the videos, I have to say to myself, well, why am I bothering making videos if nobody watches them, right? But if you're doing a blog or you're doing a project and somebody like the Coco crew comes along and just mentions that, and a few people talk about it, and maybe it gets a few more people interested, then you get a little bit of recognition, you get a little bit of validation. That possibly then gives you some motivation to stay on target with your project or maybe do more projects.
Shift it a little bit because
yeah, right. And that can become a slippery slope too, because then you get into the feature creep and the bike shedding, where everybody wants to tell you
about everything too. That's
yeah. So it does become a little bit of a slippery slope. Paul Fiscarelli says the big thing for me is the camaraderie and just networking with people with a shared interest, a lot of variety in content, and always learning something new. Yeah. So for me, like before there was our show and there was just the Coco crew, to me that was like, listening to the Coco crew was like listening to the radio, and it's like when you listen to a radio show for a long time, even though you never met the people, you kind of feel like you know them a little bit, So it was kind of cool to meet John and Neil before, and when it was just John and Neil, so back on Coco Fest 25, to meet the two of them in person, it's like kind of like meeting the guys who you hear on the radio, And I remember the first time, and I think it was episode 6, that they had mentioned, oh yeah, there's this guy on YouTube playing games on Coco games, and he's got something like 20 or 30 games or whatever it was at the time. I don't remember what he had, but they mentioned my name on the Coco crew, and I was like, oh my God, it was so cool to hear your name on the show. So it is kind of cool that, again, I'm not saying that I invented anything here at all. I've been inspired by the Coco crew and by the community, that we're just doing we're doing what we love. We're talking about what we love, and it's kind of a shared thing, Yeah,
it's kind of the growing up thing. It's a shared experience we all had growing up.
Mm-hmm.
What's cool too is people that are coming back to the Coco or coming to it for the first time, they realize there's this vibrant community. I mean, it's not like I'm not the only one. There's other people like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one guy said he thought he had a Coco in his basement or somewhere, and then he started looking. He found it. He set it up. He made a video and said, he was kind of amazed that he had all the stuff.
Yeah. We're going to show some of that when we get to the kind of news community review.
That's cool.
Steve Powell says it's sort of nostalgic. Takes me back to good times, sort of like the excitement of getting a new monthly Rainbow magazine. Yeah, we could definitely say that about the Coco crew as well.
We enjoyed that.
Yeah. John Linville says, my name is John, and I like to play Coco. Hi, John. Welcome to Retro Anonymous, right? So
we have to do that all together. We all say, hi,
okay.
John.
All right, I'm going to try it again. On the count of 3 now. Okay. Hi, my name is John, and I like to play Coco. Hi, John. There we go. There's a sound bite.
When I had Paul Barton come over and we were working on the Cocos and stuff, I wanted to say on the show here that, Paul Barton come over and we played Coco, but it just didn't sound. It doesn't.
We played Coco.
What do you say?
Yeah. No, that's we get it. Okay, Nick Marotta says this may sound silly, but I had fun trying out Zoom with you, and I love hearing my name on here too. Nick Marotta. So
we can all say it. Nick.
Okay, on the count of 3, everybody, we're going to say Nick Marotta. 1, 2, 3. Nick Marotta. little internet delay there.
Was I on mute?
No. Yeah, it's been a really unexpected journey. I think doing this show, when you look back on how we started the show, we really were just. It was like, because at the time that's what I was doing. I was doing live streams and I was doing live marathons where I would play Coco games on a Saturday afternoon. People would come by and chat while I was playing Coco games. So I kind of had the live thing was kind of a thing, and some people knew about it. So I was like, well, let me leverage the fact that people know I live stream Coco stuff, and let's talk about Coco Fest, because we're excited about Coco Fest. And so it was a spontaneous decision to do that, and that lasted for a couple of weeks, and we figured, all right, well, now that Coco Fest has come and gone, this will never last, right? And here we are in episode 68, right? So so many things have happened.
Some of the reason I got involved or wanted to know more or listen to this stuff is because I wanted to hear or see or know what the latest stuff is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of the stuff you've collected is years old, you know?
Yeah, yeah. John Linville says, I'm your host, Kylo Ren. Yeah, Kylo Ren doesn't have any anger management issues, does he? That's a good one. Some jokes are just for some people. You know what I mean? I got that one right away.
I always thought you were Whoopi Goldberg. Since we're on The View, you know. She always rage quits.
Does she really? I don't watch much television.
Yeah, she had a major rage quit here last week.
Oh, wow.
She kicked somebody off the show.
She rage kicks people off.
Wow. Yeah, I do like Retro Anonymous, though. That should be coming. That should be welcome to Retro Anonymous.
That's a new TV show for us.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Steve. It's been 3 hours since my last eBay purchase. Yeah, Coco View is what John's called, the Coco View. Oh, man.
That could be a good nickname for this show.
The Coco View?
Yeah, CoCoTALK, a.k.a. Coco View.
Coco View, a.k.a. Jerry Springer.
Do sales from other vendors besides eBay count?
The sales from of course, yeah. It's been at least 2 hours since I ordered my last boomerang, right? So
you get a Coco 3, and you get a Coco 3.
Yes,
you're all getting Coco 3s.
Under your chairs is a copy of Popstar Pilot for everyone. Oh my goodness.
You're right.
Oh, I already got mine.
Thank you. You're too kind.
Oh, thank you. Yes. There's been a lot of moments where things have just happened. It's even now. It's like pinch me. You know, it's like look at all the people we have here in the panel right now. You know, we have Curtis Boyle, pinch me, right?
No kinky stuff today.
Yes. So. You know, so we have Steve Bjork, we have Rick Adams, we have Nick Marentes, all in here, all of guys who have made, you know, professional games for the color computer, and they're here, you know, and they're here every week, you know, so it's like, man, the people that come together and that are all part of this community is pretty cool.
I'm just a user.
Yeah. What are you, Grant? We're still trying to figure that out. What operation you having this week? Bomb threat.
Oh, there it is.
Product placement for bomb threat.
Gotta hold it up a little more, Rick.
Yeah.
We need a ticking noise.
It's mostly off screen.
Yeah. Hello, Balloon Lulu Gaming says, "What the frick is a Coco?" That's a great question. That's visit imacoconut.com and start learning there. It's a computer from 30 years ago. Yeah, it's hard to imagine that we've done what we've done, and you know, for me, like this is like if I do nothing all week, like there's a million projects I want to do, there's ideas I have, there's things I want to, you know, I want to play this game, or I want to work on this, or I want to do whatever. At least I know we have this show. This has been like a rock, you know. No matter what else I can't do on any given week, I know we can do this, and I know that we're going to get together and we're going to talk and we're going to have a good time. And I think some of the earlier comments, people were saying that it's the inspiration, right? Or seeing people's software, seeing people's projects. One of the things that became clear to me, because I'm still kind of new to the Coco community, you guys have been, you know, active for much longer than I have, but when you see somebody getting recognition for their project and getting exposure to that project and getting feedback and everything else. And then especially if it's something that they're going to sell and they end up making sales because of that. But what happens, I think, is this becomes a self-fulfilling thing, right? Where one person's project, we you know, Coco Crew does it. Coco Crew talks about all the projects. We're doing the same thing. When you talk about a project, well, you're validating one person and possibly inspiring or motivating another one, where somebody else is going to say, well, so-and-so is doing this. Well, maybe I should do that, you know? And then they start a project, and then we start talking about that. And then, you know, they feel good because we're talking about them and so on. So I just think that this whole thing becomes very self-sustaining, where we're giving each other the motivation and the feedback and the encouragement that we need to keep doing it. And then that, I just think that sphere of influence and that sphere of motivation continues to grow. It hasn't shown any sign of slowing down in the past 2 or 3 years. It's the snowball is just getting bigger and bigger over time.
Well, I'd just like to thank Curtis for all his work on Nitrous 9.
I haven't done much the last couple of weeks, but yeah.
Don't matter, but you've done a bunch over time.
Yeah.
I'll be getting back to it.
And I want to thank David Ladd for making me feel stupid every weekend.
Dave's been kind of quiet. David, you with us?
Crickets.
Somebody check David for a pulse.
Maybe she should show the blow.
Whoops, wrong button. Hold on, where's the crickets button?
Show the
there we
blow
go.
up video.
David Ladd, do you copy? All right, well, we'll see. We'll get back to David. All right, that might be a good enough topic for now. We'll beat that one to death. Maybe we can revisit it as those thoughts come along. All right, so why don't we talk about some of the things that have been going on in Facebook this week, and let's cue another cool little soundtrack here. There we go. Yeah, John says, yeah, and they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. So, yeah, a couple things have been coming up in the Color Computer Facebook group this week, and so a few of them that we've all been tossing around, and a few of them I came across this morning. So this was a pretty interesting question, maybe speaking of inspiration or ideas for a game. Wayne Aaron, friend of the show, who often watches us from Sam's Club, he threw out the question this morning on Facebook saying, oh, excuse me, hiccup. He threw out the question saying, hey, is there a game like Hero for the Coco? And as far as I know, I think that answer is no right now, right? But it isn't. I
didn't get a chance to take a look at it. What is Hero like? Like, I've never seen the game.
You're kind of like on a jetpack, propeller pack, and you have to fly down to different areas and rescue people and get them out of these little networks of caves and things like that.
You set bombs to open up new areas and kill spiders and whatever. Yeah, there's no game like it on the Coco.
Okay. So, yeah, so maybe if somebody's looking for a game project or a game idea, you know, that might be one of them there. Hey, Bruce Moore just joined us. Hey, how's it going, Bruce? How's it going, eh? So that's an interesting question, and maybe that's some fodder for a a game idea. Another one, Wayne Aaron, showed some pictures because, like Ron was saying, Ron's like, yeah, I like it when people show pictures of their setups. So here you can see Wayne's got a Coco 3. Looks like he's got a Coco SDC here, deluxe joystick. He's running the Coco SDC Explorer. I don't know what type of display he's on there. That looks pretty clean, so he might be running a switcheroo. Do you recognize, Jason, if Wayne Aaron has gotten a switcheroo from you? Because that's a real clean picture there. I don't know.
More crickets?
More crickets? Yeah, everybody's muted.
I'd have to look. It sounds familiar.
Okay. All right. And these questions here, these kind of tied into our earlier discussion on how basic interpreters work and things like that. So this one got a lot of responses, but the question came from Paul Thayer, which was, because, you know, Paul's been looking at my Cosmic Aliens games. He's been trying to figure out a few ways to optimize a few things on his own. And so I had mentioned to him, he's like, well, I notice you're doing all these things with variables, and, you know, why are you doing that? And I said, well, you know, based on all my sources, I'm told that's faster. And he didn't take my word for it, so he asked Facebook. And so, and, you know, whenever you're not sure and you want an honest answer, ask the internet, right? So.
Yeah, right.
So, but I think there was a lot of good feedback here, and so maybe we can talk real quickly about this if you want to. Can we give a succinct answer as to if adding a variable is faster than adding a constant, and why, and feel and feel like this is a exact answer?
Well, it's always faster when you do it in assembly.
That's true.
Adding a variable is faster because it doesn't have to convert the ASCII constant to a floating point number first.
Right. So you've saved a processing step.
Yep.
And I think that's good enough. We'll leave it at that. By the way, we got somebody in live chat called Sexy Girl. Hey, Sexy Girl, how are you? Thanks for joining us today. We really. All right, so at least it's not a troll. It's a sexy girl. We don't get sexy girls too often, so we'll let you stay here, sexy girl. All right, so now here's one that got posted, and I don't quite know what it is, but we're going to show it anyway. So Sheldon McDonald says, I am working on a MIDI to MML converter. It's got some screenshots, got some downloads of some tests and some blogs. And so the question was, what is an MML? It looks like we've got an answer here. It's a music macro language. It's what Color Computer uses for its play statement. Oh, okay. So you can take a MIDI file and convert it into play statement. So let's see what does that picture come up? Okay, yeah, so these are the play commands, right? So if you had a MIDI instrument, a MIDI file of music, he's turning it into the play commands, like the octave and the notes and things like that. That's actually pretty cool.
I can see a definite use for this because Alan Huffman was working on his sound project of being able to do play statements like this, except you could do multiple voices. You can convert a MIDI right to a multi-track, for his extended basic extension he's doing to allow the play command to control the, what is he calling his sound thing?
Sur sound.
Sur sound.
Sur sound. Right.
So that might be a really good utility for people that are going to be fiddling with the sur sound.
There you go. So there we go. We got the answer to that. So that's interesting. And so this is on the Color Computer Facebook group. If you want to check that out, there'll be some links to the blogs there. So that might be something worth looking at. Another thing that came up this week, which is a video that was posted on the Color Computer Facebook group, but the history of Paperboy. I haven't watched it yet. I'm not going to play it here now, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Number one, because it was posted in the CoCo group, and number two is because Paperboy is a very cool retro arcade game, and we have a clone of this on the CoCo. Is it Paper Route?
Yeah,
what it's called? Dave Dies.
Done by Dave Dies, yeah.
Yeah, I think Curtis was on a video, and maybe Nick was too. We did a video of this, right, together. I think you guys co-hosted that. So we played this, and Dave Dies did a really good job in kind of porting this game to the CoCo. So how about I do this real quick? I will take a link to this, and I will post this in the live chat. So if anybody wants to watch that video, it is now in the live chat. So that was History of Paperboy. Watch that when your time permits. Another thing, and by the way, if I'm going too fast or if anybody wants to chime in, just chime in along the way. Here's just a kind of a picture. I like seeing these two. This is like Ron's Garage. Ron Delvaux has a Facebook group called Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer. Almost reminds me of what you say to people at Mardi Gras. Show us your something else that starts with T, though, right? So show us your show us your tandies. That's a nice pair of tandies you got there. So so here's a picture of somebody posting their CoCo 3, and so it's always kind of cool, right? So sometimes you forget, like when you've owned CoCos for a long time and you've got a shelf full of CoCos and you got 12, 20, 30 CoCos, maybe you forget that excitement of just finding it in the basement or getting the one on eBay, that kind of Christmas morning tingly sensation. So I still like seeing these pictures when people are excited that they got a CoCo, And so again, this is hopefully letting people know in the community, hey, if you got a CoCo, show us your tandies. Show us your tandies. We like seeing those tandies, right? So Rob Emmons says, I'll show you my SDC for some beads. We're going full Mardi Gras here right now, right? So I had posted this this week as well in the Facebook group, and at the top of the show I mentioned, we have so much stuff that we've done CoCo related, and unfortunately not everybody knows or not everybody remembers, but I think there's something like 24 interviews that we've got in the bag already of people of the history of the color computer. One of the ones we got, which was a really good interview, and this happened when, what was the date? So this was April of 2017, so just about a year and a month or two ago. But we got Chris Latham, the guy who made Donkey King and Sailor Man, and so we had a really cool interview with him. And I guess apparently Chris is not a very public person, so we were lucky to pull him out of hiding for that interview, because I have not really been able to speak to him since then. I've tried emails, I've tried responding to things on Skype and stuff. So he's is enjoying his private life, but he came out for a day and talked about making some really iconic games for the color computer, and it was a really good interview. So I would encourage those of you who are interested in that, and I'll put a link here in the live chat as well, that you might want to check that out. And while you're there, and one of the benefits too of having people watch the show live on my OG channel is that all of these things are there. So when you're done watching this, just click on my name, go to that channel. You've got interviews to choose from. You got all kinds of stuff to look at. So I know Jason had mentioned he had not seen this before, so I'm glad a few people got a chance to see it. I thought it was good. Another pinch me moment, you know, like, and the cool thing about that, completely did not expect this, but when I started doing Coco game videos, when the authors of the games would leave comments, you know, it's like, wow, you know, it's so cool that happened. That's how we got a hold of Terry Steen, who's been on the show a bunch of times, right? He saw me playing Balloon Fire with my daughter. So a lot of people have done that where they saw me playing their game, and, you know, number one, I like to want to say I'm sorry because I'm sure I probably butchered it, and number two, thank you. So that came up this week.
You can get the cheat code for Sailor Man through that video also.
Yes. What is it? IRA idiot or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I never knew there was a cheat code, and yeah, so that was interesting. I think I ended up using that to be able to get to some screenshots. Or I think when I did a second video on this, I used the cheat code to be able to play through all the levels because I wanted to show off the levels and the pirate ships and the witches throwing the bottles and stuff like that. So there was a cheat code, right? Another community member that just got himself a Coco recently, and I think this was a PAL Coco, so he posted this in the Facebook group. So David Stephenson posting some pictures of his Coco and some of the issues he had with RAM, and how he did, well, that's a crusty looking can there, that RF can, looking a little rusty, but showing how he did a memory upgrade and how he got the Coco to come back to life, but now he's got to figure out how to get that picture free from snow, right? So Coco VGA might help, and who knows what else. So that was in the Facebook group this week. So I like seeing things like that. This one here, this was a good one, right? So what did it start off by saying? Not meaning to start a war, but anyone other than me here can't stand OS 9. So that's Kevin Z. And let's see how many responses this has gotten so far. Look how far down the internet exploded from this one, right? So
blow up sign.
all right, do we need to take Sexy Girl out of the live chat? I thought it was cute for a while, but what do we say here? Sexy Girl, do we keep, or do we get rid of Sexy Girl? All right, you know what, Sexy Girl?
Yeah,
we're gonna block and ban you right now. This is what it looks like when I. How do I do it? Somebody help me out here. Who else is a moderator on my channel? Help me ban this person. This is what happens when you try to do stuff live. Remove, report. Oh, Christ. I don't have time for this crap here. Somebody help me out here. I need a moderator. How about we do this? Remove, hide user on this channel. There we go. Does that work? Sexy Girl is gone. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. All right, so we're back to the question. Not meaning to start a war, but does anyone other than me can't stand OS 9? So I'm not even going to try to read through all of this, but since we have people here on both sides of the love and hate of OS 9 and sides of comprehension of OS 9, what do we want to say about this?
Love side.
Well, Curtis and I created it, so we kind of love it.
Well, Nitrous 9, not OS 9 itself, but yeah.
OS 9 takes too much room.
I think it depends on what your purpose is.
Yes,
it's good for some things and it sucks for others. So I
have a special purpose.
Your program,
planetarium program.
Planetarium program.
On a 64K machine, it's just there's not enough benefit because you don't have enough memory. And I had moved on to the Amiga, before really the Coco 3 was even on my radar. So I just don't see the point of it.
Yeah, level 1, it was a little bit crippled. It was a lot more like, to me, it seems like, and I think I mentioned that in one of my posts on that, is that it was almost like a proof of concept. Yes, you can do preemptive multitasking on a CoCo 1, but with 64K, you're severely limited. Plus, we had halting floppy drives and really small ones. Hard drives were not common. Real-time clocks were not common. So we were running a crippled hardware system compared to, say, the gimmicks and the smoke signal chieftains and all these other OS 9 systems that were out at the same time, but were thousands of dollars. So to me, the OS 9 on the CoCo didn't really become anything really all that useful until level 2 and the CoCo 3.
There you go. Now, is anybody shocked that Eric Gaverluck did not have something flattering to say about it?
Doesn't shock me.
Nope.
But it's interesting because he starts off by saying, you know, I learned to see the beauty in things in the past 30 years, but I still think OS 9 is a total POS, right? So he's found the beauty in many things, but just not in OS 9. So
when he says POS, does that mean point of sale?
Yeah.
We're talking the other term there.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, I was, looking at the lighter side of life, I guess.
I'll give you my perspective on it. I didn't understand it until recently, and I didn't hate it. I didn't know about it, and I didn't see any personal need for it myself. But I think it was episode 19 of CoCoTALK, roughly-ish, and Bill Noble came on, and Bill gave me a disk image to boot up on the CoCo SDC to play with, and you guys kind of walked me through it and talked me through it. And even then, I grew an appreciation for it, because you have to admit the fact you have this level of operating system, a Unix-like operating system. Now, at the time of OS 9, I did not understand operating systems. I understood dir and copy and save, but that's not an operating system, right? So disk extended color basic is not. Like when you say RS-DOS, you're being very generous, right? Because it's not an operating system.
Why don't we have Bill Noble stand up and give us a POS? Point of sale on OS 9.
Yeah. So I got an appreciation for what it was capable of. Now we could sit here and say, yeah, well, it does eat up memory, and yes, it takes away from, if the CPU cycles, depending on what you want to do. If you want to write a game like Zaxxon, that's maybe not the operating system, because you're not going straight to the bare metal. There are pros and cons to that, and there was a time, like during the days of Windows 95, where you still, like, DOS games were still king because they were writing straight to hardware, where people had not figured out how to get Windows to move as quickly. And
so DirectX came out, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, there's different tools for different jobs, right? But as an operating system, multitask, multi-user, if somebody doesn't want to have to write their own operating system like Steve Bjork does, like Steve mentioned many times, I've got my own operating system that he wrote. And I guess that's kind of good and bad. The good news is, if you know how to write an operating system, you can make it however you want. But if you don't, it's nice to know that one's out there that you can leverage, right? So what do you now? Of course, now we know that we have the ease of use, which is putting it in the hands of novices to make it easier to launch software and test out the software. What do you think things like the 2 meg and the 8 meg, what is that going to bring to OS 9 as well? Because we're still even saying, okay, 64K, forget it, don't even try. 512,
I wouldn't bother.
Yeah, 512K is still a little tight, right, when it comes to being able to do a lot.
No, 512 is fairly comfortable. I'd say 256K is a minimum.
Yeah,
it depends on what you're doing. If you're talking text applications, 512 is quite a bit of memory.
Okay. So, but what about 2 meg? What does 2 meg offer to OS 9 as far as new frontiers? Could we have bigger, better games, bigger, better programs that use up more memory?
I mean, because get-put buffers are not limited to a certain amount of memory. Like if you have 2 meg and you want to make get-put buffer graphic images that fill 2 meg because you have a whole bunch of levels in your game and have a whole bunch of different graphics, go right ahead. You can preload it all in, and then it's, when you switch between levels and stuff, it's pretty well instantaneous rather than having to reload everything on the disk.
I've got a train coming. I'll be quick. On some applications that do a lot of disk access, at the very least, you can use it as a virtual disk drive or disk cache.
Yeah. And you can do that two ways. You can make a RAM disk, which you can do under RS-DOS too, or you can load all the modules into memory. So when you go to jump to execute them, they're already there. You just go bang, instead of having to say run, quote, blah, 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 and then wait for it to load off disk.
And I even did that on the Amiga when I was developing for the Amiga. And it makes a huge difference in speed.
Yeah. And there's other things too, like the play command for playing WAV files and SUN files and all those other sound files does handle up to 2 megs. So if you want to play a sample that's 1.5 meg long and you have enough memory free to do it, go right ahead. Works fine.
Well, also too, back in the development days, they had, from a particular person at Tandy, they wanted everything under OS 9, and it did not make sense for games. Rick, do you remember Last Ninja? Yeah.
That's
Now,
gonna.
remember, it was under OS 9, and what your RAM restrictions were?
Yeah, that was insane. That was not a good decision.
No, it was. So Rick and I come from the aspect that these people did not understand what was going on when it came to resources, OS 9, and sitting there and saying, they're going to give us probably no more than about 4K of RAM to do this game in.
Wow.
By the time the operating system was loaded in.
Yeah, it's kind of overkill for a game anyway.
Yeah, it was just
certain types of games. It depends on the game. If you wanted to write an adventure game, a text adventure game that's huge,
but let me finish, Curtis.
Okay.
Tandy had a copy protection system, and it was going to be on this disk.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the final version had to have the copy protection. Copy protection under OS 9 defeats the whole purpose of OS 9 because you can't put the game on the hard drive.
True.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
why
not
do
an OS 9
9
fault, though. That's a fault of the people who gave you the specs for The Last Ninja.
Yeah, that was one of the things that Tandy came back to me after I started working with you on the project. Oh, yes, you got to put the copy protection that you used for the other games that we came up with. And it was just like, then why do it under OS 9?
Yeah, that's totally true. And like I said, it's for me, it's a specialized thing for certain types. There are some games that do work well under it, like really large ones, but not ones that are super graphics intensive that we want to bang on the hardware as fast as you possibly can. On the other hand, once drivers are written for all the various sound cards and stuff here, you could write a game that automatically runs on all the cards without you having to rewrite your code. Not so under Disk Extended Basic. You're going to have to write a driver for every single sound card that's out there, or pick one, and hopefully that's the standard. So, I mean, the hardware abstraction layer is a plus to me. I mean, Bill and I used it with various hard drive systems and printer ports and serial ports of all different kinds. And we didn't have to rewrite any of the software that called this stuff. You SuperCom, you got a 16550 board, you want to run it with 152, you just type SuperCom/T2. As long as you had this right T2 loaded, you were fine. You try to take something like Ultimate Term or Sock Masters and try to run that on 16550, it won't even touch it.
Yeah, true. You can add drivers for sound chips, but still the basic idea of how that sound chip works varies from sound chip to sound chip. So you still got to have something in your game that understands that unique sound chip.
Yeah, but you have to do that under Windows and Mac and everything else as it is now. You have abstraction layers, API calls that remap it out to whatever the hardware is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd all be stuck running VGA still.
Was Dallas Quest OS 9?
No.
No.
Oh.
Neither Sands of Egypt either. They use the DOS command. That sometimes confuses people because a lot of people were used to just typing DOS to boot OS 9. But DOS is just a little command that just basically loads track 34 and just runs whatever's there. It doesn't care.
Dallas Quest seemed to me to be a pretty nice adventure game because it was graphical and they had music in the beginning and all, and the picture of the show people in the beginning it made you relate immediately to the show.
Yeah, well,
Leisure Suit.
If OS 9 is so good though, with the abstraction layers and the support for drivers and all that, then why don't we see any OS 9 games with great sound? Why isn't there? We don't really. We've got the capabilities. OS 9's got the potential, but it hasn't been used all this time.
It has, just not on sound cards.
Well,
the basic fallback there, Nick, is the actual timing, because most sound cards will actually require like the 60 millisecond timer type of thing, whereas being a multi-user operating system, you're actually time sharing with everybody else, so you can't concentrate totally on sound.
Mm-hmm. So OS 9's not a good environment then for games.
No, it is not really.
Not for arcade style games, no. But I mean, you probably could with some of these newer sound chips that actually you can tell it, go play this sequence and then come back to me when you're done type thing, where it's buffered. Yeah, sure, you could do it in that case. But the biggest issue with the sound drivers right now is that I don't think anybody's actually written one except for the standard 60 hertz, sound command equivalent from BASIC. But I mean, to me, OS 9, if you're not an assembly language programmer, which hopefully you will be after watching Steve's series, there are more powerful languages that you can write code in if you're more familiar with it, like BASIC 9, which is kind of Pascal-like and much faster than Disk Basic and Extended Basic. You've also got C compilers and stuff like that too. So you can write some stuff that actually is quite a bit faster than you'd ever get in BASIC on your own.
Mm-hmm.
But if your game fits within the criteria of being certain amounts sped up, but not having to write to the core metal just to get it to run at the speed you want, it's perfectly fine. And like Steve mentioned, because you have an easy way to hook up hard drives and stuff, or the ease of use, we're hooking up in Coco SDC with a 120 meg image. If you want to write a game that fills all that with pictures and sound samples and text that's a meg long, go for it. It's quite easy to do that. I'd like to see somebody do that under Disk Basic.
There you go.
The latest game that I'm working on, this OmniStar that I'm working on, it needs a lot of windowing. There's a lot of text. The music, sound, and graphics needs of the game are not terribly ambitious. So with all the windowing, especially the windowing and the text, that would have been a great game to do with OS 9. It actually, I might have developed it faster. But The Last Ninja in OS 9 was insane. They gave me an Amiga to play the game on, and it had this wonderful soundtrack with polyphonic sound and just awesome music. And I tried to replicate that under OS 9, and it was just absolutely pathetic. It was like one voice, and it was very stuttery, and it was terrible.
All right. Dave Phillipson just pointed out that with OS 9, you're not limited on your disk size, where Disk Extended Basic you are. You got that 168K.
60K, 553K,
yeah. All right, so maybe we've beat this one to death, but we got a few more news articles to cover, and then we'll get into some event stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and take another break. If you have some more... let me just ask one more question, because we have Grant Leedy here. Grant, are you here? Are you unmuted, or can you unmute? Going one. Grant Leedy, do you copy? Testes. 1, 2.
Sorry, I was double muted.
Double muted. It's like being on double secret probation. So, Grant, you are one of the people who's testing the beta release of the Ease of Use project. And before Ease of Use, had you used OS 9 at all?
Yes, I have just a little bit, but I rage quit it so many times that I gave up.
Okay. And now that you're using the Ease of Use, being somewhat novice to the operating system, what are your thoughts on the current version of Nitrous 9?
His hair's gone back.
Oh, God. Overall, because I grew up with Windows, so I come before the, the command prompt era. So I didn't know much about command prompts like OS 9 is. So the point and click and then the GUI makes it a heck of a lot easier. And Kurt's done a great job in getting that to be very similar to the point and click. So pretty much you can do pretty much anything you want with the mouse and the keyboard now without having to really type into all the commands and so forth on it. So I think it's a lot easier. I think it's coming along quite well.
Okay.
Thanks.
And yeah, we played with it not too long ago. Like, one of the best testimonials was that at Coco Fest, kids could come up and use the GUI and play games and run demos with no instructions required. It's point and click, it's double click, it's run a program. That's a good testament to it. To me, you know what it reminds me of a little bit? It reminds me of like the days of like Windows 3.0. You know, where there were things that you could do in Windows that were kind of cool, and you could have these different things in Windows and have these demos run, and they were pretty fast. But at that time, it wasn't like you had the big wow, big bang program that says, man, everybody's got to run Windows 3. You know, there was a lot of cool things you could do with it, but it was, you know, it was almost more novelty than it was practical. I'm not saying that's completely true for OS 9, but I'm just saying that looking at how these demos run, they remind me a lot of the Windows 3 type demos.
Yeah, like and all those were out around the same time too. So I mean, when you got Doom, you weren't playing it under Windows.
Exactly, right. So like Doom is a perfect example where that was still an MS-DOS game because that's how you beat on the metal. And that's kind of the difference when we write a game for RS-DOS versus Nitrous 9. Do I need to beat on the metal, or can I run you know, in a window? So
and Wolfenstein and Doom even had that menu option, like here's 6 different sound card options we're aware of. You can pick one of these, but if you have one of the other ones besides those 6, you're screwed. You don't have any sound except for this built-in speaker. It's kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, so we've beat this one to death. I'm going to take another quick break, and then we have a few more news articles to go over, and then we're going to talk about some events like VCF Midwest and Tandy Assembly. So just a quick break, and we'll be right back. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. Go potty if you have to. We'll be back.
Hi there, this is Mark Overholzer, and you're watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly talk show where you can join in. Hey, come watch us and see what's happening in the world of Coco.
Hi, I'm Mike Rowan, and you're watching the original gamer, Stevie Stroh. And when you're done watching, come over and listen to the Coco Crew podcast.
Hi, this is John Linville. And Neil Blanchard. We are the Coco Crew. I hope you're enjoying watching Stevie Stroh play video games, especially the Coco games. And when you're done with that, check out our podcast at cococrew.org.
Where can you catch all the latest news and information about the Tandy Color Computer and Compatibles? Oh yeah, I'm talking about the Coco Crew podcast. Dig it each month. Join John, Neil, and Mike as they lay down the latest news and information about the RadioShack Tandy Color Computer and Compatibles. Groove to interviews, tech segments, and discussions all about the RadioShack Tandy Color Computer. Strut your fine self over to www.cococrew.org and start listening today. The Coco Crew Podcast. Keeping it Coco, dig?
Plans after school. You know what Elliot's gonna do? Jeff too. Elliot's at work on a book report using Scripsit on RadioShack's Color Computer 3. It hooks up to his TV. And Jeff's at his RadioShack Color Computer 3 playing the newest football game. But wait, what's Elliot doing playing new Super Pitfall? And Jeff's having a blast with a new math tutor. You never know what you might try with more than 100 programs for fun and learning. RadioShack's Color Computer 3 comes with everything you see here. Other items each sold separately. Only at RadioShack.
All right. Well, we are back. One of the news items we'll get to hopefully in a moment is the fact that RadioShack might be coming back. So let's just say this. I want to post this in the live chat too. So this is James Diffendaffer's blog. So when we did our discussion a week or so ago, where James was talking about interpretive basic and things like that, and a few questions have come up with basic and interpretation and variables and stuff. So James has a blog, so it's jdiffendaffer.blogspot.com. I am posting that out there in the live chat for you all to see. So sometimes some things read better than they listen. Some things show better. So information, different types of information are sometimes best presented in different formats. And I believe sometimes too, that's in the brain of the beholder. Some people can hear it and get it. Some people need to read it to get it. Some people need to see it to get it. So we have some companion stuff here on James' blog. Definitely encourage you guys to check that out. Anything you want to add to that, James, about your blog and some things they can look for in particular?
They won't have to watch you melt down.
And what's the fun in that? So that's out there, so you can read some of that. And I need to add this to imacoconut.com too. So I have a list of certain people's blogs. I have to get that updated. So that's out there. Make sure you guys check that out. So another thing that's come up now, and Grant posted some of these articles in Discord throughout the week. We're trying to collect news, things to talk about. So RadioShack. RadioShack is like mold. It's like mildew. You just can't get rid of it, it seems. It seems like, well, what the heck happened to RadioShack? Well, we are downsizing. We're going bankrupt. We're coming back. We're going back. We're going away. We're here. We're gone. And RadioShack, for the most part, is at least RadioShack as a corporation, or the corporate RadioShack, it's gone, right? Somewhere out of those ashes, there were like, well, there's some franchise stores. And these franchise stores, well, they're still up and running and they're doing well and they can do whatever the hell they want. So those franchise stores have been around. But now we have this. What do we have, Grant? What's going on with RadioShack this week?
Well, basically, they have announced that they're going to open up what they call RadioShack Express stores inside of a store that's called Hobbytown, I believe is what it was called.
Okay.
And they're going to start within 60 stores of the Hobby Towns and then expand it up to 100. Now, I don't have a Hobby Town here in Kansas City, but I don't know if you guys do down the south or up in Canada. But right now, they're going to open up 60 stores and hopefully be opening it up to all 100 plus stores of Hobby Towns. So it's going to be a RadioShack Express.
RadioShack Express, and that's kind of like how they have a Pizza Hut Express inside certain KFCs and Taco Bells and stuff. Limited menu, but you can get some things hot and ready.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and so RadioShack is making a comeback, sort of. So 60 small locations, and listen, it's a start from humble beginnings, right? So
yeah, I don't think we'll see that up here in Canada because RadioShack disappeared up here years before it did in the States, and I don't think we have a Hobby Town either. So,
well, it kind of went from RadioShack to the Source by Circuit City here in Canada.
Yeah, they bought out
now it's just the Source, which is basically a Best Buy.
Mini.
So who owns RadioShack right now? Does anybody know?
It'd be the franchise, right?
Who owns the name?
Wireless company, or whatever that is.
Well, it didn't actually Sprint buy it out in the States, or am I wrong on that?
No, Sprint bought the stores, the physical retail locations.
But not the rights to the name.
Somebody bought the name, but I don't know who it was.
So my question would be, though, are they actually going to sell the RadioShack brand in these express locations? Do those brands even exist anymore?
I don't think they exist anymore. That could be wrong.
Well, when I went to a RadioShack independent dealer on the way back from Coco Fest, they had a mix of the RadioShack brands and then other electronics brands in there, like Hamtronics and whatnot.
So you can still get your wood grain realistic speakers, or?
I didn't see those.
Yeah, it's
It'll
amazing.
be interesting to see what they actually put in there. I foresee it to be more like probably the remote control toys and so forth back from the days. It's the only thing I can think of they'll put in there.
From the pictures I saw, someone took at a Hobby Town USA. It looked like they had like a lot of little bits and pieces and whatnot. But I think I do have one of those stores in my area. I'll have to check out.
Yeah, you know who's become kind of like a RadioShack too, as far as just rebranding cables. But when you go to buy stuff now on Amazon, you can get something, I forgot what they call it, like Amazon's Finest or something like that. So when you go to buy an HDMI cable or things like that, Amazon now has their own brand.
Amazon Basic.
Amazon Basic, yeah. So Paul Fiscarelli just chimed in and says it's called General Wireless. I guess that's who owns the name RadioShack. Yeah, so Amazon Basic. So you can get Amazon branded cables and connectors and things like that. So that's, you know, it's like, I think the challenge with anybody now trying to be a RadioShack, including RadioShack, is that it's really hard for any physical establishment to compete with the internet. If you don't need it today, for me, I have Amazon Prime. I can get anything I need in 2 days. I do like the candy store aspect of being able to browse and see things and having that impulse buy, or the 7-Eleven analogy where you're going to pay $4 for a gallon of milk instead of $3, but there's the convenience of just getting it right now and not having to wait in line in a grocery store. So there's the convenience aspect. There's that kind of tangible impulse buy aspect of it. It would be interesting to see if it grows. I think most of us here probably, I could say without any reservation, we all want this to succeed. Radio Shack is where we started, and we'd like to see Radio Shack live on in some fashion.
Yep. I would be interested to see if they're going to try to take on the makerspace too, because there was some talk about maybe Radio Shack should start hosting like 3D printers and stuff, and have little like workshops and that kind of thing. I don't know if they're going that direction now, but that would be an interesting thing, because it's harder to order a 3D printer unless you're really familiar with the market as it is now, because you can't see what it's doing, what kind of quality it's printing and stuff online. So it might be something to have it, where you have little classes and stuff that you learn how to use it and stuff like that too. That might be an opportunity for them.
Yeah. You kind of have to embrace the community right now, I think. And I think that's exactly what Radio Shack lost sight of. They forgot what made them good and tried to be a cell phone company who happened to have a few transistors and LEDs. Yeah. So maybe you come full circle. It might work. So we have somebody in the live chat right now that says, "Hi, I'm a big fan. Totally not on your ceiling." There's a little Grant. What is going on here? So, okay, because his Coco can play multi-voice background music from basics. Sir Sound coming soon. Did you draw that, Ron, or is that somebody else did that?
That comes from.
Is that Alan's?
Yeah, exactly.
Alan drew that himself.
Yeah, and you see the guy's T-shirt.
I'm a coconut. Okay, there you go. You can kind of see the top of it. That's cool.
You'd like that.
Yeah. That's one time we'll allow the shaky cam without slapping your wrist. So
all right, it was a gratuitous.
Yes, it was good. Dave Phillipson says Micro Center is a little bit like Radio Shack now, but they don't have stores in the small towns. Yeah, I hear you guys talking about Micro Centers and stuff, and I don't have those, and I haven't seen one. But again, those are kind of like your candy stores. Or was it Fry's? Was another one you guys said you liked?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Fry's seems to be dying off though. Because when I went to Chicago, it was just seems to be really run down.
We have two stores here
in California.
It's rained down a little bit. They're feeling the competition from Best Buy, but more importantly, there isn't as many high-tech professionals shopping in a physical store. They do it online. I have to admit, it's been almost a year since the last time I walked into Fry's, and I've got 3 of them within 10 miles of me.
Gotcha. So Bruce Moore says Radio Shack needs to change its name to RSK Corporation. Apparently Your Mind, who made the comment about I'm a big fan, Your Mind was not a he. And so Your Mind says, "How dare you? I'm a 23-year-old girl." All right, so we seem to be attracting all kinds of people here today on the show since I've gone back to my other channel. So my apologies there, Your Mind. So RSK Corporation, Evil Corp, who knows what we call Radio Shack. I wish them luck. I wish them well. From humble beginnings, who knows where we'll end up.
Hopefully they can find a niche that works for them and keeps them around.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're competing with Amazon and Amazon's basic cables, right? So it's hard. It would be hard for any company, regardless of the name, to say, "Hey, we're gonna have things that you can." Who wants to leave the house if they don't have to? For the most part, for your normal conveniences. If we could get all of our groceries delivered, wouldn't you rather just order your groceries online and not have to deal with the hassle of going to the grocery store? That's just kind of where things are going, is buy it online, have it delivered by a drone, So, but I think for our hobby, the guys who like the circuits and the transistors and the maker stuff and the parts, that's a reason to get out of the house, right?
Well, in a sense, Stevie, I've actually directed most of my parts buying and small project and everything like that buying on Amazon. Amazon is actually a great replacement, but if Radio Shack can actually come back from dealing with Amazon, that would be a big difference. But I do hope they do, because I did prefer Radio Shack over the years.
Sure. Okay, so based on everybody here right now, if you could get a cable for $4 on Amazon, but you had to wait 2 days to get it, or you can get it for $5 at a local Radio Shack, would you do it? Would you spend the $5?
I go to Radio Shack.
I would go
The
to
only
Radio
problem
Shack.
is that $5 cable may be half the quality of that $4 Amazon.
Yeah, but it gets it done.
And it's usually $8.
Right, but so that's where they can't go back to the old Tandy way of 40% markup on everything. There's got to be a sweet spot on what you can sell it for versus what you can get it for online. So it's kind of like now the same issue we have, where hopefully we're all smart enough now to not pirate software. So when Nick Marentes makes a new game and everybody's making these new games, we're paying for them and we're not repeating history. Hopefully maybe we could be smart enough to say, well, if we all support this effort of our local Radio Shack and we try to buy a few things here, even though we're going to spend a few more dollars, maybe it gives them a chance. So maybe that mentality will happen.
I like Curtis's idea about having like 3D printers. I mean, to actually make like a maker space.
Yeah,
they can even rent the fact that you can bring in design and they can print it for you if you can't afford your own printer type thing. Like there's some potential there.
And they could also do tutoring. You could have lessons, so you can actually have a class.
And that you can't do in Amazon, not as easily anyway.
Right.
No.
Yeah, that's real hard to do. Yeah, across the internet. Better to do it in person.
Steve Powell says, I found a 6809 assembly book on Amazon with a price tag a bit over $900 by Lance Leventhal. So.
I thought you guys were just telling me Amazon's cheaper.
You can get that same book on Coco Color Computer Archive for free.
Rob Inman says we need a Coco Genius bar at Radio Shack. I'd like to make an appointment. I think my caps need to be recapped.
Nice glassy circle.
Yeah, we're having our 2 meg seminar tomorrow. And
oh, that is classic. That's good. A Coco Genius bar. That's what we all need.
Like where you bring your own tofu and bean dip.
Good one. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. I don't have this hobby. What's it called again? Hobby
Town, I think.
Hobby Town, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have it here either.
Don't have it in the Southeast. I haven't heard of it, but I would definitely try to support it, but I also have a really bad example of before Radio Shack went down, where I tried to support a Radio Shack. I think we were talking about this in Discord a couple nights ago. I tried to buy a VU meter, and I wanted to go ahead and buy it from my local Radio Shack for a project for my kids' science thing. They didn't have it. They were going to order it from another store, and of course it just never happened, and they screwed the whole thing up. And I was on a time crunch because this was a school project. I ended up buying one from China through eBay or something, and I got it quicker than 2 different Florida-based Radio Shack stores could beat their heads together and get anything for me. So, but that was during the decline, and the people that worked there just weren't the people like us when we worked there. I worked there as a kid, and as was 18 or whatever, I got hired there. But I knew computers at that point.
Where are these people working now?
Well, the real downfall for Radio Shack is they did a booming business in the beginning with cell phones.
Yeah.
And then the market died.
Yeah.
Because when you sold a cell phone, you got spiffs to pay the employees from the carrier, and you got a monthly commission off of that phone bill.
The contract, yeah.
Off the contract. So it wasn't just the fact they sold a phone. They sold the contract, and they continued to make money. And they loved it. Well, all of a sudden, when the cell phone companies started coming up with their own stores and so many retail locations, they weren't handing out the spiffs like they used to. They weren't handing out the contracts like they used to, and they weren't making that much money on a phone. And nobody was coming to Radio Shack for a phone anymore because it would take 2 hours for them to sell you a phone. Where if you go over to the AT&T store, you walk in and you're out in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I wonder if Obama phones caused any problems. You know what those are?
What, the Blackberries?
No.
What's an Obama phone?
There was a time, when at the end of Obama's term, when my son, who is, he's developmentally handicapped and he's in a program, he can get a free phone. Just free. You have to pay for minutes, but the phone was free.
Okay, the physical phone was free.
Mm-hmm.
It's called SafeLink.
Is that what it is?
I have one, and I've had one since before Obama, and I get 250 minutes a month free. And if I don't use the minutes, they carry over for a year, and then they delete anything older than a year. And now they used to give you a really cheap refurbished phone. Now you can bring any phone that's compatible with the carriers in your area. So I just bought a Moto E for $100 because I got tired of the cheap, crappy phone, and I get 250 minutes a month free.
Yeah, my son's had about 5 of them. If you look at my listing for my son when he calls, it goes Phil's 5th phone.
Oh, so they don't even transfer the number. It gets a new number every single time.
Every time.
Oh, okay, all right. So here, Rob Inman just has a good one here for what we get at a Genius Bar. Yeah, help me patch my boomerang to my Triad. Have a seat. We'll be right with you. The Coco Genius Bar. All right, so let's beat that one to death. Let's just say we hope. We wish RadioShack well, and hopefully, if we have an opportunity to support them, we will. RadioShack should have a website too, as a companion site, because there's more things they can sell that way. And for people who say, listen, if I could buy it online from Amazon, or if I could buy it online from RadioShack, let me support RadioShack, then maybe they should look into that. And it's easier to sell more things online because you don't have to stock them, in a store and stuff. So who knows where it's going to go. But
the problem with the online store, when I visited there a few months back, is their prices were just outrageous.
Yeah, well, you can't be on the internet and not be competitive. That should be common sense to anybody in this day and age.
The real question is, will the new RadioShack stores have battery cards?
That was the now this would make a great show topic, and which we're not going to do now. But I had posted this because there's a group in Facebook now that's called All Things Tandy in RadioShack, and so I had posted a message out there saying, hey, how many people, if you've worked at RadioShack and you love a RadioShack, how about we have a CoCoTALk? And the whole topic of CoCoTalk is just RadioShack, RadioShack memories. What was it like to work there? What was it like to be a customer there? I've suggested that, and maybe after the next break, we can talk about trying to suggest things sometimes and what comes from those suggestions. But surprisingly, I don't know. It's really weird. Like I say, at the top of the show, we celebrated the fact that, hey, we got 10,000 downloads on the podcast. We got 18,000 views on YouTube. We've got this great group of people on the show. We've got this great audience. This is all great. We're feeling good. But when you try to maybe extend that to other areas and you say, hey, why don't you guys come join us on a talk? You might like it. Not everybody understands it. Not everybody gets it. Not everybody's interested, but I have tried testing the waters a few times to I tried inviting the Tandy RadioShack group. Hey, why don't you guys come on CoCoTalk and we'll have a special RadioShack talk episode. And, it just flatlined. No response, nothing. So, it's really hard, I find, in this connected world. How do you get a message out there? And it can be challenging. There's just so much white noise on the internet. How do you get to be heard? So amongst us, we could probably make that our own show topic, but I love bringing in new blood too. I like having new people on that haven't been on and just hearing other people's stories. But yeah, we should look at planning a RadioShack themed show.
If we do that, we have a corresponding group called All Things Tandy RadioShack.
That's what I was just talking about, Ron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I posted to that group inviting them to come on the show. Good and got no response. So
but they're posting more than just computer stuff, stereos.
Yeah.
Speakers.
Maybe Stevie's being shadow blocked.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, all right. So let's take another quick break, and then we're going to talk about some events. We're going to talk about VCF and Tandy Assembly, and we can talk about more things. But yeah, Radio Shack, we wish you well. So we're going to take another break. We'll be back. CoCoTALK will return in about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. See you then, people.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tim. Playing Daggerith like that idiot from the book. You're watching CoCoTALK.
Hey, this is Bruce Moore, author of Force of Doom, and you're watching the original gamer, Stevie Stroh.
Only the bravest souls enter. Only the most cunning return. Defeat innumerable monsters to ransom the king's scepter, stolen by the evil wizard. Your sword, shield, and wits are your only allies. Pray you find a magical inn as your only respite in the forest of doom.
For the tiny color computer 1, 2, and 3.
November 2017, if you dare.
My fellow Americans, Australians, Canadians, Europeans, and all of you ands, I'm calling on all y'all to help us make the world great again by visiting the Retro Swag Shop at 8bit256.com, where you can get yourself a coffee mug like this with a little cute cartoon character that says, I'm a Cocoa Nut. You could also get yourself a coffee mug like this with a Color Computer 3 that says, I'm a Cocoa Nut. You could get yourself a deluxe travel mug like this with the CoCoTALK logo on it. You might even be able to get yourself a DVD like this with over 2 hours of gameplay goodness. It is time for us to rise up and make the world great again by enjoying some quality retro merchandise and Coco nostalgia. So please visit 8bit256.com and let's make the world great for the color computer. Thank you very much.
It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
Oh, I remember that Christmas. Dad gave me my first shortwave radio from Radio Shack. What memories. This Christmas, we got our son's Color Computer 3 from Radio Shack. It hooks right up to our TV and was on sale for less than $130. The Color Computer 3 makes learning fun. Jimmy even lets me use it for word process when he isn't playing computer games. Lucky I still got my shortwave.
Save $70 on the sale-priced Color Computer 3, only at Radio Shack.
All right, everybody. Well, we are back, and hold on just a second here. Yep. All right, so we're back with CoCoTALK. We are live, and it's time to talk about some events that are taking place around the world today. Let's hear some music. Woo! Rock out with your you-know-what out. All right, so some of the...
After dark in the afternoon.
Yeah, we're going to save that one for an after dark. So one of the upcoming events. Now, Mark Overholzer mentioned he's going to VCF West, which is out in Silicon Valley in California. One of the things that a few of us here on CoCoTALK are planning on attending this year is VCF Midwest, which takes place in the greater Chicago area. Grant Leety and myself will be there. Jim Brain from Retro Innovations is going to be there. Ron Klein is going to be there. Evan Wright is going to be there. Neil Blanchard from the Coco Crew and Jim O'Keefe will be there. So a number of Coco nuts. As a matter of fact, I don't have the map in front of me, but there's a show floor map right now. There's a whole Tandy cluster of about a half a dozen tables that are all representing at VCF Midwest. And so on their website, which I posted a link to in the live chat, when you look at the presentations, you can see what's going on here. And it's a pretty fun-filled couple of days of talks here. So let me zoom in on this a little bit so we can see it a little better. So on 9 o'clock, we were just talking about this, the RCA 1802. You, Steve Bjork, you said this was one of the processors you had worked on back in the day, huh?
Yep.
So Josh Bensedin is going to be talking about that. Craig Ernster, Jim Drew supported Pro Series. Okay, Thomas Cherry Holmes is going to be talking about Plato and Errata Online. So I'll get to meet Thomas, that was when I was out of town when he was on our show. So I'll get to meet him in person. Glenn Homer is going to be talking about a basic compiler for GEOS. What does GEOS run on? Is that a C64 or is that Amiga?
No,
or maybe both. Okay.
It might have been an Atari version.
The history and technology of the Skelby computer business, ESR computer toys. There's going to be an auction, so similar to the Coco Fest no minimum bid auction. We're going to be watching some show called Unauthorized Access, and there's going to be some videos from the BBC Computer Literacy. Sunday at 10:30, yours truly, Stevie Stroh, will be giving a presentation on my current game project called Cosmic Aliens Then and Now. And so my thing I'm hoping to display and talk about is I'm going to have a real Tandy 1000 running the original version of the game that it was developed for. So you're going to be able to play the original game on the original hardware. I'll have the current version I'm writing in BASIC running on probably a Coco Pi to play. And so I'll just talk about the original game and kind of the history and some of the cool things that happened in its 15 minutes of fame, and just talk about my exposure now writing in programs again after 30 years of not touching a programming language. So I'll give a little presentation. Jack Rubin, Annual Family of 8 panel. I don't know what the hell that is. A Cactus 6502 homebrew. So what is this? Is this a new type of homemade computer? Cactus 6502. And then another presentation, War Games versus Present Day by Grace Hopper. So a couple of things there. Anybody else in the panel planning on going to VCF Midwest?
Nope.
No? Okay. It'll be my first, so I'm really curious to see what it's all about. Where is this going to be at? It's the Holiday Inn in Elk Grove Village in Elk Grove, Illinois. From what I understand, this is where Coco Fest used to be for a while, right? One of the earlier homes of Coco Fest?
No. It's right next to Schaumburg, Illinois, which is where Coco Fest used to be.
Okay. Is this where Rainbow Fest used to be? This Elk Grove? What used to be here?
Nothing I know of.
Nothing I know. They were talking about possibly using it for future Coco Fest, but I mean, they used to hold that. Rainbow Fest was at the Hyatt Regency in Schaumburg.
Oh, okay.
Schaumburg,
okay.
yeah.
So we have 48 days left. They've got a live countdown here on the website. So, so VCF Midwest is on some of our radars. No. So what Rob Inman's saying is NOS. NOS is new original stock. So the guy from Sundog Systems still has a whole bunch of new games in the bag that were never sold, and he's selling them new on eBay right now. So NOS also stands for new or new old stock or new original stock, right? So it's old merchandise that's never been sold, so it's being sold as new. What's the proper term? New old stock or new original stock?
Not
One of those
sure.
two.
I've heard both.
Take your pick, right?
At higher prices too.
Yeah, right. Because they're vintage, inflation, and so another event that's coming up, and I don't think the website has been updated, but Tandy Assembly also on our radar, November 10th and 11th in Springfield, Ohio. Now, we had just heard that the keynote speaker is supposed to be what's-his-face from the Computer Chronicles. What is his name?
Stuart Chaffee.
Stuart Chaffee. So supposedly the keynote speaker is Stuart Chaffee of the Computer Chronicles. So that needs to be put on the website because I think that's a big draw. I think people would really get interested. So right now they don't have the names. They just have the time slots on their website. So you want to stay tuned to tandyassembly.com. And I don't know who El Javo is. El Javo is asking, can I connect? But who are you, El Javo? Are you a Coco nut? Are you somebody in the Coco community? And if so, we need to get you on Discord to get you in here, but we just can't do it now. But yeah, so we need to get this updated, I think. Do we have the, we do have the venue. So it's the Courtyard by Marriott's, downtown Springfield, Ohio, $112. They do have a floor plan laid out. So things are looking good here, but we have a lot of blanks that haven't been filled in on the website yet. So hopefully that will get updated in the near future. But Tandy Assembly is something I would definitely like to go to this year but I'm not sure if I'll be able to. It all just depends on the timing because of VCF and all kinds of other things. It'd be nice to be able to hit both up if possible. Anybody else planning on or going to try to attend Tandy Assembly this year?
I'm going to try to go.
Yeah. Oh, did you say you had already gotten a room for Tandy Assembly?
Yes, I did.
Grant, you did. So you had reserved a room ahead of time because we were still waiting on the room rates to be published too. So you got one, and if you go, and hopefully, you know, you're still going to want to talk to me in the morning after I bunk with you at VCF Midwest. So if I don't burn too many bridges, maybe you'll let me sleep with you again, and we get a Tandy Assembly.
I've got to go now.
You know what I mean? Share a room, just separate beds. You know, it's like El Havo or El Javo. How do I join? Yeah, well, yeah, we can't do it now. But if you want to join us, do we have a link to the Discord server on here? I don't know if we do. Can anybody put a link to Discord in the YouTube chat? So I need to update the description of the live chat for that. We kind of share this information throughout the week on Discord, and it's just a little bit too awkward now to try to do tech support and getting somebody on the live call right now while we're live. So if anybody could do that, if anybody could put out a link to the Discord server, that would be great. Okay, so we finished news, we finished events, we've talked about assembly this week. We've had a good show. We've been going on 2 hours and 40 minutes. How are we feeling, everybody? We feeling good?
Yep.
Have we beat the show to death, or is there any air left in it?
We got Nerf hammers out.
Oh, Javier. Oh, it's Javier. Okay. That's Javier. El Javo. I couldn't tell by your name, El Javo. Yeah, somebody put a link out there for Javier. Actually, how do I do that? Can anybody help Javier? Can anybody put a link to Discord in there for him?
Trying to find where you have it hidden now.
Hold on. See this? You guys talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves here while I find this crap for Javier. All right. Talk, people. This is a talk show. This is the dead air time right now.
Talk.
We should probably show a color computer on here more often so people know what one looks like.
Yeah, we should.
Maroda. Well, Ron, that's your department there. You got a wall.
I can't do that anymore.
Like the main page here for CoCoTALK Live. I don't see it.
Okay, I just posted it in the live chat. Okay. So I'm trying to find here. So yeah. So there's a link to join our Discord server. Discord is how we communicate throughout the week, both on text and on whatever. So if you can get into Discord. All right. So what else do we need to talk about today, boys and girls? Have we missed anything?
Have you got time for a short core dump?
We have time for... Well, my soundboard's not working. Hold on. Got to be dramatic here. So let's make sure we've got sound here. Nope.
My toilet's right around the corner here.
Testes 1 2. Testes 1 2. Testes. Frickin' soundboard. This has got to be a voice on technology product
right around the corner.
Yeah, right. I need to return this to Retro Innovations. Third time is okay. It's not working. Soundboard's not working. So we won't get the flush sound, but let's just do this. Okay, we got time for a core dump, Nick. Hold on 1 second here. Woo!
Oh, wow, eh?
You gotta love that.
Well, that's right. Well, I've got two things that have been on my mind this week to contribute to Core Dump. The first thing, I was talking with Jim Brain the other day on Discord, and I was wondering if there's any value in replacing the ROMs in the Coco 3. Now, he's doing the 8 meg RAM board, and I asked him, is it possible using that circuit he's got in there, which has a CPLD in it, takes control of a lot of the Gimme's memory accesses. Is it possible to make it map out accesses to the real ROM and maybe have some flash ROM on his 8 meg board whereby you can load an alternative ROM and you choose between the built-in original ROM or a customized ROM?
Like
with all
ADOS
this
3?
Sorry?
Like ADOS 3 or something?
No, well, that's the disk basic ROM, the ADOS. I'm talking about the actual super extended color basic ROM. With all this talk going on about optimizing basic, I mean, there's been talk about optimizing the floating points to get more speed out of it. There's been talk about 6309 support so that the basic runs faster. That would be really cool. So I thought, can his board remap the access to the built-in ROM so that the user could have a customized ROM in there, and they can choose between one of the two modes? And he says, yeah, it should be easy. So yeah, I'm just wondering if that would be something that would be of interest to people.
I think if somebody does an optimized basic, it definitely would be. I know Sockmaster's done some 609 stuff. William Astle and a few others, James Diffendeffer, have done some optimizations on the regular 6809 super extended color basic. I know William was mentioning he did some patches to the text screens for MMU mapping, and it's quite a bit faster for text.
Apart from optimizations, there's also a lot of bug fixes. So I'm thinking all these pokes that are available and little fixes and speed ups and optimizations to 6309, they're all just a bunch of pokes. But the thing is, it'd be good to just get them all together and make a new super extended color basic plus ROM, and you can copy that to the ROM or flash ROM or whatever of the board, and then you can choose. I don't know how, whether it's via a poke or maybe a jumper on the board or add a switch.
Now, switcheroo.
Yeah, switcheroo. That's right. So yeah, I was just thinking that would be really cool. Maybe even do some enhancements like support the 225 scan lines, which I use all the time. Whenever I do any basic programs, I have four lines of pokes, pokes in basic, which I run at the start of my program, and it pokes the basic in RAM and allows me to do the basic to support 225 scan lines in all the graphics commands as well. And it's, well, I like it. I think it looks so much better having a slightly taller screen. But yeah, those sort of posts could be done more permanently rather than having to devote part of your basic program to do all these pokes. It'd be good if you could actually have a Coco 3 optimized from boot up to have those in there.
Oh yeah, it's very feasible to do that.
Yeah,
and
well, he says it's very easy to implement. Yeah,
both the CPLDs and the FPGAs that are around for different Coco 3 versions, I guess you could say, they're all very capable of doing that because they actually take the raw ROM image and have it in a binary form in the logic. So you can just replace that binary form with the new ROM and away you go.
Well, that'll be easy for FPGA or emulators, but I'm
no,
talking
even for the CPLDs, because the CPLDs have enough room for the ROM image of whatever you're doing, whatever enhancement. So it's there. It's just a matter of implementing it.
What do you mean by the CPLDs?
Well, CPLDs and FPGAs are pretty much the same thing. It's just CPLDs are a smaller version of an FPGA.
Now I'm talking about a real Coco, like doing it on a real Coco, because the ROMs are soldered in on a real NTSC Coco, and rather than having to try uninstall the ROM to put a ROM socket in, just like the 6309, I was just wondering.
That in a hardware sense, you're just overriding the chip select on the actual real ROMs that are in the Coco versus internal one on the CPLD.
And Jeff's board actually plugs into the Gimme socket, and the original Gimme plugs in on top of that. But he has a CPLD on that board,
yes.
Which uses the RAM that's also, because you don't need the RAM expansion board. You can pull out whatever RAM expansion board you had, because the RAM is provided on this board. So I asked him, can you also make it so that it remaps the ROM to some flash RAM on that board as well?
And
so
it's very possible.
Very easy. Yeah, that's right. So I was just wondering, would that be a feasible, possible upgrade, or is that the sort of thing people would be interested in on the Coco?
I'd be interested in it, but I'm not going to write it.
Yeah,
no,
I'm not going to write it either. But yes, it is feasible.
That's right. Well, we got all these people who have been doing basic modifications to optimize it. I thought, well, that'll be the perfect device to allow that to become a permanent thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the benefit there too becomes, because it's in Flash, if it could always be upgraded. So if it needed to be patched or upgraded and things like that, it's no longer written in stone like a ROM was.
That's right, yeah. And
like I said, you're basically on the CPLD or the FPGA or whichever you're using. You're just
what size is that ROM?
The chip select from the
it's
ROM
16K,
itself.
Isn't it? Or 32 or 16K, isn't it?
Super Extended is at least 24, isn't it?
24, is it?
I thought 32. It was 32.
Or is it 32? It's definitely not 16, because Color Basic and regular Extended 16K.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah. But yeah, that's small in today's, ROMs and RAMs. So
we got a few people chiming in saying it's 32K. So Retro Innovations and Dave Phillips and both say that. Yeah. And when you brought up the question earlier, Nick, Ed Snyder says, "Oh, sure, you could do that." Ed Snyder says a 6309 basic might be interesting, maybe include some new hardware support. Jim Brain said he's not sure if a CPLD large enough to hold a ROM image, but perhaps Bill Noble does. But Ed Snyder says, no, just slap some flash on whatever board and map it optionally.
One thing to remember in all this, though, is that the ROM that's on the Coco is the original Microsoft ROM.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
With another chunk of it that modifies it in RAM. So it copies it in RAM and modifies it.
So I wonder if it's possible to make a version of the ROM of the modified version once it's booted. So in other words, when you run the modified version, it doesn't have to do the modifying. The modifying's been done, has been set into the new ROM. I don't know.
It's a great idea.
This week's brainstorming,
right? Because this is similar to what James Diffendaffer was doing with the MC10, optimizing MC10 basic ROM. So can we optimize and extend the Coco 3 basic ROM to?
It would be the next step. Once you fix bugs and speed it up, add to it.
Kind of like the Gimme X, where Ed Snyder's going to be working on a Gimme replacement, and maybe the first version won't include anything extra, but maybe the ability to upgrade and extend the Gimme over time would be kind of cool too. That's a great idea,
a real screen-based editor, so we get away from the line-based editor. I think there's lots of things that can be done. It's a matter of finding people who'll do it. But I just thought having the hardware that way would be the catalyst. It would
future-proof the product too if it's field upgradable, where you can just here's the latest update, go download it, and just like we do with Coco SDC.
That's right.
Sure.
Just flash a new version.
Yeah. So
just flash it in.
Retro Innovations is saying you can pull the RAM contents from MAME or VCC and flash it. He says there's even cooler things that can be done, like 64 kilobytes of paged basic kernel. So who knows? The future is wide open. So, but it sounds like there's enough people in the live chat and enough people here saying, yeah, this is not only a good idea, but it's doable, probably easy to achieve. So the next step is hey, who's going to do it? All right. Yeah. And by the way, welcome.
Somebody has to incorporate it on the hardware, and then we have to get some people as a second stage to actually do the software update.
To test it.
So Jim says it can be done, so maybe we can coerce Jim to add that feature in. But he'd only add it in if there's interest from people that would be a good idea.
Well, not only that, but people to actually test it too, like all those other hardware products waiting on testing and development support. So
yeah, Jim's right. He says software development, that's the issue in his opinion. That is absolutely true.
Yeah. And that's one thing that we may be lacking a little bit, is we got these hardware guys that are doing tremendous things.
Yeah.
We don't have the software guys coming up front and doing it.
Yep, time to step up. Why don't you do it, Nick? It was your idea.
Wouldn't it be good to modify the built-in sound command so it talks to Ed's new sound chip?
And Sir Sound and everything else too.
Sound or whatever else. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So anyway.
Show me the hardware. Show me the hardware.
Yeah.
That's right. Software supporting the hardware.
Right. And welcome, Javier.
Hey, Javier.
So, yeah, that was thought number 1 that I had this week. Thought number 2, I've been trying to get back into writing my game, and I'm at the moment trying to play the musician. So, yeah, that's proving to be harder than the coding. So I'm trying to come up with the musical score for my game. But also I was thinking, should I develop Gunstar, my new game, to be 6309 specific? You know, why bother trying to get as much speed from a 6809?
Sure.
I mean, it'd be better to have them dual so that you have 6809 and 6309 compatibility in both. But really, once you see a 6309 version, especially just utilizing commands like the TFR, the block move, effectively, the block move commands, you get so much more speed. So why do the release in inferior 6809 version?
Absolutely.
Do a 6309, since there's so many people now with 6309s. And
I've been telling you that for years, Nick.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know, you did a bad job, so I had to convince myself.
It took you long enough.
And the thing is also, it means you haven't got a 6309. Well, if you want to run this game, you got to upgrade it. So it sort of makes 6309s more needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the fact that Richard Lubieski has sold 55 of his upgrades, which involve you having to desolder the CPU and put a socket in because you have to put the DAT port on it, that people are definitely willing to do it and just pop a 609 at the same time. He even sells it as a package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another reason I was mentioning before about doing a software hardware
tie-in,
project tie-in thing where you guys can give a slight discount between the two of you and sell Gunstar with Richard's 2 meg board and a 6309.
Yeah, make it a licensing deal where you could send him copies to the States so he could sell it here in the States for you with the CPU upgrades and stuff. And so my answer is unanimously yes, do it. And if you build it, they will come. And you know what I mean? And you need every new hardware platform needs a killer app. You know, it was things like VisiCalc that got people to buy a TRS-80 in the first place. Like, why do I need this computer? What can I do with it? Well, I can crunch numbers. Okay, now it makes sense. Why do I need 6309? Because Gunstar is a kick-ass game, and I want to play it. So it's a $5 frickin' chip with maybe a $50 upgrade if you don't want to do it yourself for the socket and labor. So by all means, my vote is for yes.
Everybody has an emulator on their machine. They can still run it.
They could run it,
And that was our selling point for Nitrous 9 back when it was a commercial product.
Right.
And we sold as many in 2 days at CoCoFest back in whatever, 1990, whatever it was. We sold more copies than Richard has sold of his boards in a week.
Yeah.
So that shows it was a...
because I remember, Curtis, you had to scramble finding more discs.
Yeah, I had to buy discs from another vendor. I had to go pay Xerox fees at the hotel to make our copies of the manuals and everything else because we sold out the first day.
And it'll be easier to develop for. I don't have to struggle trying to make a 6809 version as close as possible to a 6309. You know, just forget it. You know, we're moving on to a better CPU. So
move on. Hey, Javier, were you
I
going
mean,
to say
look
something?
at the other markets too, like the Commodores and the Apples and stuff. They're using the hyper chips now to do a lot of their stuff. They don't touch the old ones either.
I don't even touch the old ones. So I figured, well, why make it hard for myself? Just do a 6309 version.
Yeah.
Don't listen to Curtis. Just do it.
You guys know about this? There's a program. I saw it in K-Fest last week. This guy is a programmer, and he does everything, I think, in C or something like that. And he has a little program that converts everything to, you make a game, and it converts it to Coco, to Apple II, Commodore, and so forth. So I don't know if you heard about that.
What's the platform? Is this the video game designer? Arcade game designer?
Yeah, it's a program that he made, and you I don't know very well, but you code it once, and then you save it as different platforms.
But what kind of game, though? Is it for arcade games or for like adventure games?
Yeah.
Arcade games. That sounds like Arcade Game Designer. Yeah, that's a platform. They've been circling that in the Coco group because right now I believe it was targeted to like the ZX Spectrum and a few other systems, but they're trying to get people to support the Dragon and the Coco.
I'll get information about that. I'm not sure because I'm not a programmer, so I wasn't that.
Yeah. Yeah, now that would be really cool if there was a high-level platform that could then export binaries to various systems. And the reason why I was asking, too, is that there's another guy whose name is Evan Wright, and he's been working on an adventure game engine where you write your adventure game on a modern PC using a GUI, and then it compiles the binaries to run like on a Z80 TRS-80 computer, or it'll run on, he's got it now exporting to MS-DOS into the Coco. So he's done something like that for text adventures. I think the challenge with arcade games is that all these systems have varying hardware as far as the graphics and sound chips and stuff.
Some are sprite chips.
Yeah, but it's not impossible.
I'm going to get more information because this it, and he showed me that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime we can have a tool to give to people to create things and make their life a little easier, I'm in favor of that tool.
Was that guy at CoCoFest that you're talking about?
Evan Wright?
Evan Wright has been.
Yeah, Evan Wright has been at the past couple of CoCoFest, and he goes to DCF Midwest. Yeah, he did Flood It for the Coco.
Yeah.
And he's working on this adventure game kind of cross-platform tool. He teaches computer science to like high school kids, and he brought a bunch of his high school kids to CoCoFest this year, and stuff. So
we should bring him on here sometime.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Evan Wright's ever been on. I know we've had Glenn
he's been
Hewlett.
on Voice.
Been on Voice, maybe. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. And I've had a few people in the live chat saying, have you asked this person? Could we get Dave Dyes back into the mix? Could we get the guy from Sundog Systems back into the mix? And, I don't necessarily know all these people personally. I know I put out messages on the Facebook group from time to time saying, listen, everybody's welcome. We'd love to have you come on and talk about a project. I don't know what else to do. And there's only so much I can do. I think I also need the people who know the people to maybe ask them. I've tried a few different times, and I've gotten my hand slapped for trying to reach out to other communities to say, hey, we got a good show. Would you like to join us? So I don't want to overstep my bounds.
To be honest, on these particular people mentioned there, I have contacted them both in the past. Dave Dyes had a really bad break with the co-community, not due to the community, but due to problems with Rainbow, and I won't get into the things here. But he basically said, I'm never touching the Coco market again.
Okay.
That he was so badly burned.
Right.
Glenn Dahlgren is just plain busy.
Yeah.
I've talked to him a few times on Facebook and stuff. Ken Roganway, who wrote Rescue and Fighters Chronos Rift, we did get in contact with him briefly. He answered a few questions by text. We were trying to get him on the show, and now I guess he's because now he doesn't respond. So
yeah,
we have tried on some of these. It's just when people have time.
Yeah.
Or if they're even inclined to still do it. For some people, that Coco was so long ago, they said, I don't really remember anything.
Right.
Don't really have anything to contribute. So
well, it might be interesting to somebody like Dave Dyes. He was burned a long time ago, but the Coco community we have now, it's a different community. And I think if somebody who's been away for a while, if they were to check out the Facebook group and check out the Coco crew and CoCoTALK, they might say, man, this is, because everybody who watches these shows and listens to these shows, they're like, man, this is like the good old days. This is when things were happening and stuff. And it's almost like the good old days are here again. So, it's hard to get that message out there.
And the Coco is a good retirement toy. I mean, most of these people must be getting old by now.
Oh, come on.
So
I think Dave's younger than me, actually.
What did you say, Sonny? Can you speak up there, Sonny? I didn't hear you.
I need these new sound cards for my megaphone here.
Yes.
And where's my free battery?
Yeah, but I mean, I try to make everybody know that everyone is welcome. But you got to be careful when you use the word everyone, because when I say, hey, I would like everyone to help me gather news articles each week, and you ask everyone to do something, nothing gets done. If you ask one person, hey, Grant Leedy, can you gather news for me this week? Well, now that person's become accountable. So sometimes instead of me saying, hey, everybody's invited to CoCoTALk, maybe I should invite a person. And sometimes I do. When somebody posts something in Facebook, I might reply to that saying, hey, this is really neat. Would you like to come on the show and talk about it? So I try to balance my enthusiasm with not being too overzealous. And sometimes I've lost balance. Sometimes I've gotten really excited about something and gotten really spammy because I was happy about things. And sometimes I'm so passive that it's not, So I have a hard time finding balance. I think if we have a takeaway from this, I would like to ask everybody else who's either on the show or watches the show to help us spread the word and not just have it being me asking for people, maybe other people, use your contacts, ask your friends, ask people, hey, would you like to join the show? Or, hey, maybe would you guys like to watch this show just to see what's going on in this community?
Well, I can say I've done it.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm not trying to throw blame.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to ask for more help because, I get really excited sometimes where I say, man, this is such a fun show. This is a great group of guys. We get together, we have fun. And sometimes I would like to extend that. And it's been really challenging for me to make this bubble any bigger. And I also have to realize that, number one, you have to be careful what you ask for, right? Because even today, now that we're on my other channel that's got more subscribers, we've had Sexy Girl come in here. Yeah. We've had a few things like that. So sometimes be careful of what you ask for. And then also sometimes organic growth and a natural progression is a good thing. And if you ever watch an episode of Star Trek, and you're interacting with other species, you can't give them too much information. They have to reach the evolution at their own pace. So I like the natural progression, the natural evolution this show has taken as far as it's grown bigger and it continues to grow bigger. And I would like it to be bigger because I think that more people would enjoy this format and these discussions, but I don't want it to be too big too fast either. So sometimes you need to temper that. But I would definitely love more people to help us spread the word and invite people to join, invite people to watch, and hopefully our natural growth will happen organically,
No, I agree. And we have reached out. I mean, it's not like we haven't been trying.
Yeah. Like Ed Snyder. Yeah. I know you're watching. Ed Snyder. Yeah. We've invited you on, Ed Snyder. Ed frickin' Snyder. Hey, Ed Snyder. And we're not using Skype anymore. Some people are like, I don't want to use Skype because it's a Microsoft product. And
as
Microsoft...
Ed Snyder still comments in the chat.
And so
Ed can certainly type.
He's a typing fool. So yeah, now we no longer use Skype because Skype has done some updates and Skype has Ed Snyder says, I heard my name.
Skype got a
and
Commodore.
It's a good way of promoting his multi interface as well.
The good news is Ed,
now I have to replace my mini pack with the new one.
Yeah, we should get him on to talk about that. He can talk about the updates on the Gimme X. I mean, there's how is he doing on manufacturing Coco SDCs and all kinds of stuff.
And he did video that I thought was cool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Ed needs any help getting his message out there. All he's got to do is post a picture and we're like moths to a flame. So it's not like he needs to, but we would love to have him. We'd love to have you on, Ed.
The whole next show could be Ed.
Yeah, we could dedicate a month long. We'd have the Ed Snyder marathon month, All
right.
So Ed, just so you know, you're always welcome. You're always invited.
You're in demand.
You're in demand. And maybe when you have a super cool announcement, we could do something like that.
Make it a monthly show.
You tell me pay him twice the rate.
Yeah. So Javier, we're very happy to have you. And thank you for joining us.
That's the end of our core dump. We need to end the session with the appropriate soundbite.
I know, but my soundboard's not working.
It doesn't work.
It's a voice on tech product here.
Okay. Hey, Ron, can you open the toilet door and press the button for us?
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. Wait, we might be back up and running here. Hold on.
Oh.
There we go. The core dump has ended. So, Javier, you are a member of Retro Communities, right? And you mentioned you just went to Kansas Fest. You've been on our show a few times. What do you think about this format of getting a bunch of retro guys together talking about this kind of stuff?
I love it. That's why I wanted to join right now. It was like, where are the guys? Last time I saw you in Skype, so I was lost.
Ah, yeah. And, you know, I think this show we've had people like you on. We've got Mark Overholzer on. We've had Thomas Cherry Holmes talking about things. We've had people come on here talking about other systems. We're not biased. We're not exclusionary.
Wait a minute. Are you sure?
Speak for yourself.
We had an entire episode of After Dark talking about the MC10, and Steve Bjork was on it, and his head didn't explode. So I think it was episode 11 of After Dark was all about the MC10. So I don't know. I know I'm biased in a way because I'm close to this, but I like this show. I like this thing. Like many of us have said, this is like being at a club meeting, right? Where you just you get together and you geek out. But this is now a global club meeting because we're all over the country, all over the world, and we have something in common. I guess the only thing I would like to see happen is I would like this show to grow. I think if more people saw this and that people who were interested in this kind of stuff, if you're into retro, even if you never heard of a Coco, you should be interested in hearing what people are doing with this machine. Right. I don't own an Apple, but I'm interested in seeing what you do with the Apple. I'm interested in seeing what you do with how you make the reproductions of your packages and how you do your retro bright and your display panel. So even though it's not technically my system, what you're doing is still interesting and it's still in the hobby and it's worth sharing, I feel. So it's hard to get that message across, I think. And so finding that balance with trying to be excited about something and not spamming is really, I think, where I'm trying to find a balance. And look at Bill Noble. Damn, you're a handsome son of a bitch there, Bill. Look at you.
I'm a little too old for being that.
Hey, Bill, do you know what Steve Con 1 is?
This is the rage quit meter. Hold on. Let's see where we're at now. We're at 4. Or Steve Con 4, Steve Con 3, Steve Con 2. There we go. The head is my head has exploded. Yeah. So
everyone will know.
Yeah. So we are past 3 hours. We still have 23 people watching us live. So we're doing something right. Or something wrong, and there's a bunch of wrong people who enjoy the wrongness of this. Who knows? But what else do we want to talk about? Have we beat this episode to death, or have we got anything else to talk about today?
Are we going to blow up a Commodore or something sometime? You know, fireworks.
We could, but
we should.
We should. Isn't that kind of evil? Are we trying to get past all that now? An MC10 maybe? I don't know. Pull.
Well, we need to do
can't we all just...
Let Steve Bjork blow up an MC10.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Commodores need love too.
But actually, I'm going to go back to a comment Ron made earlier in the show that I should make a POS system.
Yeah. POS system.
Well, it's there.
I heard they're coming with a new Commodore, isn't it?
Hey?
I saw something that they're coming with like a little mini Commodore machine.
That's already out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already?
Yeah, it's out. Yeah, I saw that already.
Yeah, my wife came to me earlier today before the show, and she goes, "Did you see that there's a new Commodore, and it's the most successful computer ever made? Did you see that? Did you see it?" I go, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Nothing."
I don't see them having 2 separate podcasts being successul, you know. So
yeah. So
these folks with the Commodore 64,
2 separate podcasts and a live video.
Yeah,
they wanted to do a full-size reproduction of the Commodore 64, but they didn't get enough interest in it, so they came out with the Mini to raise the funds to upscale it to a full-size unit.
So it's like the NES Mini.
Full-size one.
Well,
But a mini, I would.
Okay, Ed Snyder said he's got to go. Take care, Ed. Ed Snyder.
Well,
Ed Snyder. Ed Snyder.
That new Commodore system is an FPGA-based system, so
Yeah, it's similar to the D64 joystick, but it's in a case that looks like a Commodore 64, but it's teeny tiny.
So it's kind of like the ones that Roger Taylor and the Coco FPGA too. Then.
Yeah,
I'd like to know who's breathing into the microphone. There's only a few people who aren't muted. I keep hearing somebody breathe, and it's not turning me on. Rob Inman says Sexy Girl doesn't join the C64 live stream. That's for sure. So we're the only retro podcast that attracts sexy girls. So we got that going for us. Oh, take care, Ed Snyder. Ed Snyder. Ed Snyder. Ed Snyder. So yeah, hopefully we'll get him on here one day.
Zipster.
Yeah,
By the
I
way,
think. Yes, Javier.
The name of the programmer I just found it. The guy that makes the program is called Evan Wright. So maybe
Evan Wright. Yeah, that's the one. That's
okay,
the adventure game. That's for adventure games, though. It's not graphical.
So it's not, okay.
Yeah.
But it's still a great concept, and it's a step towards the next level.
Okay.
The other one that's for arcade games, I think, is called Arcade Game Designer, AGD or something like that, and that supports multiple platforms. It doesn't quite yet support the Coco, but they're reaching out to people to see if they can get Coco included with that. Yeah, but even the idea of the arcade, the text adventure game is kind of cool. And you know, another similar one too is the Infocom series. So that Infocom Z interpreter, they make a version of that for modern PCs and all the retro PCs. And based on that interpreter, you could just take the game libraries and play any of the Infocom text adventures on just about any system with nothing needs to be compiled or anything. And so Evan Wright's thing is kind of the same concept, but his is actually lets you build your own video games. And I believe he was mostly influenced a lot by Infocom and Zork and some of the Scott Adams adventures and stuff. So, but he showed it off at CoCoFest a couple years ago, and you create your rooms, you create your objects, and there's all these it's kind of like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Steve, what do you call your software? The object-oriented programming type things.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly it.
Yeah, so if you create an object in the game, you can give it all these different. Because it's all done in a GUI, you can create an object and then use check boxes to give it all these different properties, and then you plug it into the adventure game engine. And so because it's all being done through GUI tools, it's very easy to generate this, and then it creates an XML file, which then just gets dumped into assembly based on whatever system and processor. So it's a really cool project, and hopefully it's opening up a lot of doors.
And Sierra has something similar. I mean, it's would be a major when he ported all the other games that we didn't get originally.
Yeah, that's that AGI.
AGI, Adventure Game Interpreter, right? So if you get an AGI engine, you can run any of the games, right? Because they were all kind of script-based.
And create your own. There actually are fan-created games that...
Right. Like one of them was Space Quest: The Lost Episode that took place between Space Quest 2 and Space Quest 3. Kind of cool. And I know there's a bunch of original ones, too, that were created. I think a lot of there's games on the Color Computer 3 for Sierra that never existed anywhere. They weren't sold. Were kind of like fan fiction type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So I think what we should do is we should probably let's wrap up this episode. We're at 3 hours 17 minutes. But if we've got some gumption left in us, maybe we can consider doing an After Dark later on tonight at 9 o'clock or something like that. I just posted again. I just want to real quick. So all of the past episodes of After Dark are now available on the channel you're watching this live stream on right now, and all future episodes of CoCoTALK Live and CoCoTALK replays will be available on this channel. What I'm going to do on the old Coco channel is I'm just going to put links to the playlist. So if you go to the old Coco channel and you click on After Dark or CoCoTALK, it'll just take you to this playlist that will have all the episodes there. So you won't necessarily get notified on that old channel, but if you go to that channel and you click on CoCoTALK, you'll see a full list of episodes. So the ability to see them and play them from either channel will exist. I don't want to post in two different places because now I've got to track two sets of numbers, and it's just a lot of time and work that I don't believe is necessary. But my hope and my vision for this show is that we're going to grow this show. We're going to have more After Darks. We'll have more retro talks that are broad spectrum, covering more systems. We'll have some more geek talks. I think I think there's some meat there, and hopefully more people will want to chew on that. But I can't, as much as I feel like, yeah, the whole world is going to love this, it's not going to be the whole world, but it'll be a part of the world, and hopefully we'll reach those people with time. But I want to do it the right way. I want to grow an audience organically and natural progression. I don't want people who want to be here. I don't want to force anybody to be here. You know, we're having fun. That's why the show works. So Ed Snyder, yeah, maybe we'll chain down Ed Snyder and strap him to a chair and put a light on.
How
him.
long have you been trying to do that?
That'll be an exclusive. We get Ed Snyder live on video. He actually joined us one time a voice chat. I think he did join us once on a voice chat for a little bit, right? So that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. So there, life goals. All right, so let's wrap it up. We're going to start with the closing credits, and then we'll ask you guys a few more questions. We'll do some post-closing. We'll talk a little bit more, and we'll wrap this up. So we're about ready to fade to black here. So sit tight, fasten your seatbelts, and we'll see you back in here in a few minutes. This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. If you love the color computer like we do, then visit IMACoconut.com for all your color computer links needs. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, visit the Patreon link on our site at CoCoTalk.live. CoCoTalk would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Karen Anscombe, Simon Jonason, Wayne Campbell, Steve Batson, Brian Joyce, John Strong, and Barry Nelson. Special thanks to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and Brian Joyce for our best of episodes and bonus content. Please help support the CoCo community by visiting some of its contributors. The CoCo Crew podcast at CoCoCrew.org. Glenside Color Computer Club, host of CoCo Fest at GlensideCCC.com. Jim Brain and Retro Innovations at Retro.com. Tandy Assembly at TandyAssembly.com. Boyson Technologies at BOYSONTech.com. Get your own switcheroo at cocoman.biz and Cloud9 Technologies at cloud9tech.com. CoCoTalk is hosted by Steve Strobridge. Co-hosts, technical directors, segment hosts, and producers: Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Grant Leedy, Mark Overholzer, Ron Delvaux, and Jason Reichert. Production motivation, Steve Bjork. The CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Schalar. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. CoCo forever, people. And let's not forget a very special thank you to Roger Taylor for getting us on the CoCo TV channel on Roku. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
Tim Lindner. William Astle. We need to get William on the show.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant guy, that William Astle. All right. 3 hours and 21 minutes of this nonsense. Will the madness ever end? Hopefully soon. Good show, guys. Thanks for being here. Jason, the Coco Man, Al Hartman still with us. Nick Marentes, Javier is with us. Steve Bjork, Grant Leedy, Bill Noble, handsome son of a bitch, Mark Overholzer, Ron Delvaux, L. Curtis Boyle, ugly son of a bitch.
But still younger than Bill.
Not by much.
Good show. So, what do you guys think about an After Dark later tonight? Anybody up for it?
Yeah, I can't. I'll be working.
Okay. It would be roughly 4 hours from now. We'll ping each other in Discord to see who's up for it. Maybe do an After Dark.
I got one thing to add.
What's that, Jason?
Nick Marotta.
Nick Marotta. That's right. Nick Marotta likes it when we mention his name. Nick Marotta. There we go. Yeah, I was having good. I think, what I like about this show too, and I nothing that this show has ever been meant to be competitive, right? Because there's another show, there's a CoCo Crew podcast. We're not trying to compete. I think this is a companion show. We're all kind of community focused. But what I do like about the show, as we mentioned, it's very diverse. It's very, very much a variety show, right? Where we do have somewhat of a format, but it's also it varies from week to week, from hour to hour. And we have all kinds of people on here. We have people like myself and Grant. We are enthusiasts. We're not hardware or software experts. We're just fans.
I would include Ron in that too.
And Ron Delvaux. And we have some people who are experts in their field in both hardware and software. But everybody here, we're here to lift up each other, our community, the machine, the passion. And so it's a great mix. It kind of reminds me of like Johnny Carson, right? Johnny Carson would have a big celebrity, you know, a headlining comedian, you know, and then the guy from the zoo, and then a Cub Scout come on and talk about something. There was a little bit of everything on the Tonight Show, if you think about it. So this classic variety.
I would
right?
be more like the Letterman Show because we have the equivalent of stupid pet tricks.
Hey, Tom C just joined us. Hey, Tom C, how you's doing? Right. In the live chat, we've had it's been a great show today. I've had a lot of people in the live chat. I don't know how far back. Let me just scroll through YouTube here real quick. But yeah, well, I've lost a lot of it. But Rob Inman has been here. Paul Fiscarelli has been here. Sean Ernst. Nick Marotta was here. Al Hartman was here. Jeff Hardy Foundation said, hey. Tom C, Curtis Boyle, Tom C, Nick Marotta. Ed Snyder's been in the live chat. Paul Fiscarelli. We cannot forget Sexy Girl was in the live chat. Michael Brandt was in the live chat. John Linville was in the live chat. Steve Powell, Nick Marotta, Tom C. Yeah, the list goes on, right? So a lot of people. Balloon Lulu Gaming. Have no idea who that was, but thanks for being here. Vocal Studios, that's D. Bruce Moore from O Canada. Mark Overholzer. Lots of Sexy Girl comments in there. You're welcome back anytime, Sexy Girl. Paul Fiscarelli. Yeah, the list goes on and on and on and on. Who was this person here? Your Mind was here. Yeah, lots of people. Ed Snyder. Did I mention Nick Marotta was in the show? Jim Brain, Retro Innovations was in the show. Richard Lorbieski was here earlier. Good times. Cool.
Don't forget Nick Marotta.
Don't forget Nick Marotta. Yeah, I think Nick Marotta was here. All right, well, we're going to play the post-credits scene, and then we'll have a post-credits discussion after that, so we'll be right back, folks.
Hi, this is Antonio Jimenez, author of such projects such as the Stevie Throw Devil and the SD Pack, and you're watching CoCoTALK in 3, 2, go.
I'm behind you making faces.
Okay.
Do you have a script?
You're rolling, Curtis. You say whatever the hell you want to say.
Well, give me some kind of guideline.
Hi, this is Curtis Boyle.
Hey, this is Eric, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
All right, we're rolling. You say whatever you want to say, David.
Keep making faces at him.
Nation, world, sweetie. Weekly, any computer. Something like that.
Hi, I'm Tim. Playing Daggerith like that idiot from the book. You're watching CoCoTALK.
Thank you, David Ladd. Now get back up there for 1 second.
Oh, jeez.
Come on.
What?
Let's get some DriveWire, TTL,
No,
ESP.
no, we don't need any DriveWire or TTL. Hi, it's Curtis Boyle, part of the CoCoTALK crew of people.
Hi, we're on Elbow Timberman. To experience Coco Fest, you must come. Do you need this? I brought the only working MC10. I could not get.
Couldn't get
autograph. By certain someone you know. Oh well.
The world's leading weekly CoCoTALK show. Yeah, something like that.
Hi, this is Rick Adams, and I'm the author of Temple of Brahm, Shanghai, and now Bomb Threat, and you're listening to Steve Bjork on CoCoTALK.
8-slot MPI, you know, floppy drive, Coco SDC, Sound Speech Pack, Orchestra 90, RS-232 Pack, Modem Pack, Super IDE. You start adding all those together if you want them all usable at the same time. Well, guess what? You just went over the 4-slot MPI.
There we go. So, yeah, David Ladd would give Al Hartman a run for his money, but it sounds like Al Hartman might have had more expansion packs for the Coco than David Ladd just mentioned there. So that might be an excuse to get that 16-port expander for the Coco. So,
well, Bill and I could have used it at work.
I used to test products for Zebra and for Spectrum and Alpha. So I had everything. I had, you know, anything that came through the offices, I was allowed to take home and play with. So, boy.
All right.
The only thing I don't think I ever had was a computer eyes. Never had one of those. But,
Was that like a digitizer?
yeah, that was the digitizer.
Ah. Good
But
times.
we were right behind them at Rainbow Fest, and that was pretty neat. They were playing Star Wars on a Coco on a little monitor, a digitized section of Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. Ron showed us Star Trek doing that too, running that through the Coco, through a digitizer. Looks kind of cool.
And I don't know what I still have left, but I have a bunch of stuff in a box. I have a koala pad, I know, a ton of stuff.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. And let's consider getting back together in a couple hours for an After Dark. So let's just say that this one is... Oh, crap. Soundboard's not working. Let's try this once again. This is a professional show here with lots of unprofessional glitches.
With professional bugs.
Yeah. Screw you, soundboard. All right. So CoCoTALK episode 68. Hooray for 10K. Another episode in the bag. It's in the can. It's done. Let's try this real quick. All right, so this episode is in the crapper, and we're out of here. Thanks for watching. God bless you all, and good night. Coco forever, retro forever, and David Ladd is my personal spiritual advisor. Bye-bye now.
Thanks,
and don't forget Nick Marotta.
And Nick Marotta. Nick Marotta.
Yeah, and Nick Marotta.
And Nick Marotta. Nick Marotta for president. That's what I'm voting for, even though he's a foreigner.